This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Without a healthy mind, being happy is hard. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny and see if online therapy is for you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 88. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the future class of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
It's Kana, not Kina.
Kana, everybody, Kana. The long national nightmare is over. We know how to say it. Kana. Roller skating, game playing, Janet Garcia. Kana.
Yo, what's good? I'm probably still gonna mess it up.
Kana. No, we can't. We can't. Kana Bridge of Spirits, ladies and gentlemen. That's the review you've clicked on. We've all played it. We're all ready to talk about it. But of course, there's more to get into before that, like the fact we're all wearing the PSI Love You XOXO bomber jacket. KindaFunny.com/store. Why are we doing this? I don't know. I sat down. They were wearing it, and I ran and grabbed my jacket. Now we have a uniform.
We were talking about this before the actual episode started. You hadn't sat down yet, Greg. Yeah. But I'm a fashion trendsetter. You know, they call me the Balenciaga Beast. I'm just out here dressing up, setting trends, and people follow, and I can't control it. Yeah. It's just the gift and the curse of being an icon.
I'm part of that problem, as I was the one that sat down second and was like, oh, we're wearing our jackets, and then I got my jacket. And then Greg's like, we're wearing our jackets, and then he got his jacket.
Imagine if that's how you treated every social situation where you show up a place, see somebody wearing a black shirt, and you're like, oh, we're wearing black shirts? It's like, no, I'm wearing a black shirt. You can wear whatever you want. You know, like, and granted, I'm happy that you guys followed my trend setting because, again, Balenciaga Beast, I am the fashion trendsetter. But, like, you could have let me do my own thing. But
you deserve a lot of credit for what you're doing here. You are the Benicio del Toro Beast. It's true. You know, you've gone out there, you've done your thing, you've set some trends.
Balenciaga is what you mean.
That's exactly what I said. Balenciaga. You know what I mean? You nailed it. Asiago. You're nailing it.
Balenciaga. That's amazing.
Tim and Andy, I haven't introduced you yet. You pipe down. You wear the jacket, you can turn your camera on. No jacket, you quiet down. All right?
Yes, sir. I'm always in the jacket.
No, you're not. What I want, you're talking about trends right now. You set the fashion trend of the day. Yes, I agree with that. We're all wearing it. We're all in the same boat. However, of course, I am the one getting McDonald's trending today on Twitter. All right, the great McGriddles versus Egg McMuffin
for
debate.
The wrong reasons, mind you. Like you put out a poll that is McGriddle versus McMuffins, which if people listen to this morning's KFGD, they already know the debate and they already know that Greg and seems like all the founders of KindaFunny are on the wrong side of the debate because you're on the side of McMuffin, which is a travesty. It's terrible.
I mean, he did it for the wrong reason, but we still came out on top, Blessing. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing is,
while you're sitting there, Barrett, can you find the picture that Greg Miller posted this morning? Greg, go
on it.
The thing here is we're not here to debate history. We're not here to get into the nitty-gritty of me versus Youssef in this debate. I put up the poll, Egg McMuffin or McGriddle. McGriddle won 51% of the vote with 8,500 votes, right? I'm not here to argue that. Instead, what I'm here to argue is let Blessing in on a secret of how close he was to almost getting it today. All right, he's hosting Games Daily. I'm over at a doctor's appointment with Jen, but I can't be in it, so I'm in my car and I just get to be tweeting about Egg McMuffins and McGriddles all this day. And I saw Blessing go live. And there it is. Look at that beautiful egg McMuffin.
Look at this picture that Barrett
Look at that egg McMuffin right there.
My picture I've ever seen. My entire mouth just dried up.
I could go for another one right now. All right, but what I did is
opposite of Instagram, where like people will do their food posts, and people will angle it the right way. People will find the right light, and people will make the food look so appetizing.
Listen, this is balancing in my lap. My pregnant wife next to me. She's got to go to the doctor. I don't have time to make it look good. All right,
I'm letting you know. Look this bad before. This is the opposite of the pictures they put in the menu to make you want to order.
True. I've seen some terrible McDonald's photos.
Thank you, Janet Garcia.
That is a serviceable.
But this is a top
also,
five.
I'm pro McMuffin, and the thing is, the point of the poll to me, and Greg, I don't know where you were going with that, is it is up for debate. It is close. People want to act like there's an astronomical gap. And here's my beef with the McGriddle crowd, because I ain't come for y'all. I used to be on Team McGriddle. The McGriddle squad. I used to be more on the McGriddle. That was my go-to. Eventually I switched to the McMuffin. And when I did that, I didn't have to go out of my way and slander the McGriddle. I live my life. I'm eating my muffins. I'm having a good time. Y'all had to come through and cast shade for no reason. There was no conversation. And then suddenly out of nowhere, people just started shooting off at the McMuffin. And I don't know why McMuffin's getting all this flack. And maybe the conversation, right? Maybe. But like, it ain't that deep of a gap. Like, y'all act like these aren't, it is.
The conversation started,
it's not.
It started with Yusef. I believe he tweeted out yesterday about, and I didn't want to go here because I didn't want to slander a whole continent. But I guess now we're here, right? He was talking about how he was talking about how the English muffin is terrible. And I agree. Why do we let that slide? Like, why are we out here having English muffins like they're a good piece of food? Am I right, Bear?
Nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
Listen again, we're getting into the weeds on something we don't need to.
English muffins, beans for breakfast. What are they doing over there?
That's a great point. The beans
why don't we put a stop to this?
Even mention the eggs Benedict is what does it. It's like, like that. It's like, oh, if it wasn't for that, the muffins would be dead. And then I quote tweeted and said, also the McMuffin. And then that's when Yusuf was like, oh, the McMuffin's disgusting. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And I am not, people often think that I exaggerate. I'm actually just a really extreme person. My jaw literally did drop when I read that because I just feel like it's so egregious to hate the McMuffin. Like, who hates McMuffins? They're solid.
I've never felt more empowered than when I read Yusef's tweet, because this is something that I've always thought about, and I thought that I was in the minority of people who just didn't like the English or the Egg McMuffin, because I've ordered it once or twice, and it's always ruined my day whenever I get a McMuffin. I'm always like, oh, what a disgust! Why would anybody order this purposely?
You tweeted that you accidentally ordered an Egg McMuffin once and it ruined your day. So you bet your ass I rolled the dice, went on DoorDash, and ordered you an English muffin.
No, you didn't.
I ordered you an Egg McMuffin from McDonald's. I did the meal. I did everything. And it was one of those things, as I pressed order and I looked at the special instructions, which were, listen, it's not me. You got to get out of your car, go to this guy's house, knock on the door. I'm like, this is never going to happen. This is way too complicated. I gave them your phone number. I was like, call him, get his ad, because I wanted it on the show. I wanted so bad to be. You'd be like, I got to go. Hold on a second. You come back in and like, he ordered me an Egg McMuffin. I have an Egg McMuffin. But of course it blew up in my face. And the guy got the Egg McMuffin, apparently couldn't find your house, was driving all around. Then called rather than contact me directly, contacted DoorDash. Then I had a phone call from DoorDash while I'm driving Jen home and she's exhausted. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't know what's going on. And they got canceled. But I was so close.
That guy just took the McMuffin for himself because he's a little freak on a leash.
God bless him. Enjoy it, of course. I hope he enjoys that Egg McMuffin, the best breakfast sandwich at McDonald's, according to me and not popular opinion on Twitter.
And we've not even talked about the biscuits. Like, if we're talking
we're not going to. That's not what this is about. This is a PlayStation show. We're reviewing Bridge of Spirits. If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is PS I Love You XOXO. Each and every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Usually this went up early because of an embargo. We get together to talk about all things PlayStation, what we like and what we don't like so much. If you like that, you can go to patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames to be part of the show with your questions about the PlayStation ecosystem, what's going on, review questions like so many of you wrote in today for Bridge of Spirits. Thank you so much. Of course, on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, you can get each and every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ad-free with the exclusive post show we do. And of course, you get a bevy of benefits for things like the Gamescast, Xcast, and Kinda Funny Games Daily each and every weekday. However, if you got no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. You, of course, can get the show for free. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, RoosterTeeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Of course it has ads. Of course it doesn't have the post show, but it still has all the PlayStation information you could ever want. Housekeeping for you. As I mentioned, Tim and Andy are waiting in the wings. They are important because they've played Bridge of Spirits. They're here for the review. They're here to hang out. However, Tim, you have something else that's also cool to announce. What is it?
Oh, yeah. In line with all of this stuff, we are now Epic Creator Partners. That means that we have an Epic Creator code. You can use it. It's simply Kinda Funny, no spaces, anytime. When in doubt, if you're ever at a website trying to get some stuff and there's a promo code field, just try Kinda Funny. There's a chance it's going to work, right? Yeah. But it definitely will work on the Epic Game Store from Fortnite. From now till forever. Yeah, V-Bucks, Fortnite, all that stuff. Anytime you're doing stuff, just do it. Support a creator. And we're that creator. That would help us a lot. And to celebrate all this, tomorrow, Andy Cortez is going to be streaming Bridge of Spirits over on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames at 11 a.m. He's going to be starting from the beginning, going through. And that's a game that you can get now on the Epic Game Store using the Epic Creator code. Kinda Funny.
See what we did there? We tied it all in. Kinda Funny, Epic Games. If you're doing it, use it. On top of that, the one, the only, the roller skate and gameplay. And Janet Garcia is nominated for 2 categories in the Game Her Awards. You should go vote for her for Rising Star Streamer and Content Creation Top Journalist. You have to find her under Game Onesis, of course, her handle, Game Onesis. Also cool shirts, Game Onesis. You can find them both at thegamehers, HERS.com/vote. Janet, how are you feeling? Are you confident? Have you written your acceptance speeches yet?
Again, I'm just going to speak from the heart, much as I did with my pitch on the McMuffin. So I'm just going to try to muster up half that energy for what this will be. But yeah, honestly, it would mean a lot if y'all would go vote. It's super cool to be up for this because there's a lot of amazing creators that are up for it. So yeah, it would mean a lot.
If that wasn't enough, we have cool Patreon producers like Tyler Ross, the kind of funny Destiny 2 PC clan, Julian the gluten-free gamer, Alex J. Sandoval, Techie Haas, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Elliot, Brian Ward, and you could be one of them too at patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where of course you wouldn't have to hear from our sponsors, ExpressVPN, Upstart, and DraftKings. But I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with topic of the show. As we said at the top, we have Kena Bridge of Spirits. We've been playing Kena Bridge of Spirits, and now we are going to review Kena Bridge of Spirits. Welcome officially to the show as Disembodied Voices, Forbes 30 Under 30, a.k.a. the second best baby blues in San Francisco, a.k.a. the verified one at Tim Geddes.
Let Tim host. Very excited to be here today and talk about this video game with all of you.
Happy to have you here, Tim. Of course, joining us is none other than the Hispanic heartthrob, Texas Treat, Latino Heat, clicking heads and ripping them to shreds, the Globetrotting, headshotting, Nitro Rifle from Twitch.tv, Andy Cortez. Hello, Andy.
It's Kena.
Kena. Can you say it too? Kena.
Kena.
Kena. Of course, Kena Bridge of Spirits, ladies and gentlemen, is out as you hear this. Of course, we are posting rarely, one of the rare times, a Monday 9 p.m. Pacific time embargo. This is up. That means it's out. You can get it September 21st, 2021. It's from developer Ember Lab. Notable because this is their first game. Here they go, branching out and doing this. Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Yes.
The PlayStation Nation turns its lonely eyes to you. From the top, let's go around the room. We'll start with you. What did you think of Kena Bridge of Spirits?
I really enjoyed this game. I had kind of an arc with it because at announcement last year during the PlayStation 5 showcase, it was a standout title because it looked really cool, had such a cool, different animation style, looks very much aligned with like a Pixar movie. And I know we call so many games Pixar movies nowadays, especially coming off of Ratchet and Clank. But this one more so than others kind of had a magical look to it. And so I think it was one that so many people saw and were like, oh, I got to get my hands on that. I got to try it out. And as we've been approaching it, I've been getting more and more nervous about it because we've not seen as much gameplay. Like all the trailers we've gotten have for the most part been like half cinematic and then gameplay glimpses here and there, but we never got a huge deep dive into gameplay. And so getting my hand on the code for it, I was like, all right, let's start this thing. Let's see how it is. And in the first few hours, I was kind of like, all right, like, this has some PS2 qualities to it in terms of the gameplay. Like it feels like it's funny because we've been making fun of Tak and the Power of Juju the last week, and that is the first thought that came to mind as I got my hands on this game. It reminded me of playing Tak 2 Staff of Dreams, in a lot of weird ways. It has that like THQ PS2 sort of like it's 100%. Half platformer, but it has some action qualities to it. You are going through, you're solving puzzles, you're taking out enemies. It's very like hack and slash, but like the hack and slash feels kind of like you are hitting enemies with a wooden stick. That is literally what you're doing because you have your staff that you're attacking enemies with. But, so much of it reminded me of playing an old school THQ game. But then on the other side, the presentation does have that like DreamWorksy, Pixar-y kind of feel to it that felt, I don't know, like at first I just didn't know how I felt about it. One of the first things I texted you as I boot up the game was, oh, this game is gorgeous. But then I get into a cutscene and I'm like, okay, this cutscene's kind of stuttery, but we'll see how this grows on me. And over the course of playing the game, it actually did really grow on me. I actually really did grow to really enjoy this game by the time I finished it.
Janet Garcia, what about you?
I actually really liked it as well. I'm still not completely through with it. I'm about 2/3, maybe further in, about like 9 to 10 plus hours into the game. Sure. And I kind of had a similar arc as Blessing. Like when I first saw it, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm always into like, new studios, new titles. I'm like, okay, let's go for this. But then it was kind of quiet in the lead up. And then when I spent like, I'd say maybe the first 30 minutes to maybe 90 minutes of the game, I'm like, It's not hitting. It don't got the song. Because I think the weakest parts of this game, which, you know, I'm sure we'll get into the highs and the lows that we all feel for it. But the weakest things to me are the platforming to a degree, because it's like a little imprecise, not the best feeling. And also, I think the melee combat in isolation isn't that interesting. I think it works really well when it starts working in tandem with all these other mechanics they introduce. So that being said, the front end of the game is kind of, to me, the weakest part. And for that to be like the intro, I was like, is this going to be a long session trying to, you know, hit credits on here? But then once I got a little bit further into it, you know, I got the bow, I started getting other abilities, the world opened up. I definitely agree with Blessing. It does feel like a PS2 game in a sense. I think just the design is so traditional and nostalgic. Like, it feels like an HD remake of a PS2 game, but in a good way. Like, I think hearing that, you might be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like janky or feel really dated. It just more so feels like it's playing and iterating on a lot of core design mechanics that I loved from that era, and I think it does a really good job with it. And I feel like this thing might be in my top 10, and it might even be on the higher end of my top 10 for the year. I really enjoyed it. I think it's super strong. And one thing that shocked me though was it's kind of challenging. Like, it had some pushback, and I was shocked because from the marketing of it, I never really got the sense that this would be a hard game. But like, you know, like, it's toe-to-toe in difficulty with Death's Door to me. I don't know if I'm like way off in that or how y'all felt, but I'm super curious to hear y'all's take on the difficulty and how that worked for you. But overall, enjoyed it, recommend it, excited to finish it.
Yeah, it's hilarious that we keep talking about PS2, or you guys do, because that's how I've been describing it to peers who are talking to me about it, who are asking, can they see me playing it, or just anybody who will listen, right? Of like, for me, it is a 2021 PS2 game, and I mean that both positively and negatively, in the way that I think this is, like you said, Janet, right? It's iterating on that blueprint. I think that's what it is. If you played those kind of games, like Blessings bringing up Attack, right? Like, if you've played those before, that's what this feels like to me, where it is such a thing of like, cool, like all the narrative happens in cutscenes, beautifully animated, well acted, amazing voiceover, or not amazing voiceovers, but good voiceover cutscenes, right? But that's what it is. So it is running around doing all this different stuff. You're not getting the environmental storytelling at all. You're not getting like the, hey, here's what the information is for what's happening. Yeah, Bless.
And to talk about the cutscenes, right? I want to bring up, like, I think that's one of the places where I most felt like it was a PS2 game, where the transition into cutscenes felt very much like a transition. Like, these cutscenes, the I guess best looking cutscenes in this game are all pre-rendered, and it reminded me of playing licensed games on the PS2, where they would literally
like they bring a part of a movie. Yeah, they bring part
like
of the
they
movie.
would literally stitch in movie scenes into this game, and I think that's half of that is a testament to how good the cutscenes do look in this game when you're in a cutscene, but the other half of it is a testament to, oh yeah, that transition isn't clean. Like, when you go into a cutscene, it's like, oh, this is cutscene, and this is definitely this feels like I'm watching something pre-rendered. It looks great, but the transition is kind of janky in some sense.
And so that, for me, it's this interesting thing of, I think I started in the opposite of you guys, and this is a very Greg Miller thing, right? But it was the more I played of Kena, the less I enjoyed it. And that is not me saying here as your objective video game reviewer, like, this is a bad game. By no stretch of the imagination is it. I'm saying just for me personally, the more I played it, the more I was like, oh yeah, this is a PS2 game. And oh yeah, I don't miss this. Like, to what you're talking about, Janet, right? Like, the platforming, for me, we'll get to all this, I know, the combat and spikes in difficulty and boss battles and all that stuff. Like, that is so PS2, I think, of like, all right, let me rub your nose in it for a second until you figure out what's going on. But for me, it was, I enjoyed the exploration. I enjoyed trying to find all the different rots in the area, all the little secrets, all the mail to go deliver, to go do the thing. And then the platforming of it, that was fun too. But then there'd be these moments that I feel are so dated and antiquated, of running, jumping. You're there. Kena, just grab the ledge. Nope.
I literally thought of you during those moments.
Your knees and your shins sliding off of it and falling to your death. Like, all right, fine. You're in this big battle with all these waves after waves of enemies, right? And like, you've made it 3 ways in, and this isn't even like the most difficult combat by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not talking to you. You make your way into it, right? And then, you know, one of them does a big attack and blows you back and outside the bounds of the battle you were in. So now you have to re-enter and start from scratch to get back to, I'm like, oh my God, like, I thought we were past all of this. Like, I didn't like that. And that wore on me. In the beginning, it was oh, I see what this is. Oh, I haven't played something like this in a long time. But in the way, you know, we talk about like Ratchet and Clank, you know, this year being a modern Ratchet and Clank and taking all those lessons and still feeling familiar, but also being modern, right? This is very much this is a PlayStation 2 game. We're building off of that blueprint, and that's what the game is. I don't mean to take up so much time. We still have, of course, Tim Geddes. Tim, what did you think of Kena Bridge of Spirits from a top level?
Top level, yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit more similar to Janet and Bless in the sense that when I first started it, I liked it a lot, but I had a lot of criticisms, a lot that you guys have been expressing as well. And the further I've played, which at this point I'm probably like 60% through, and I'm at the point that I love this game with a lot of criticism. And I think it's because I really kind of got into the flow of how the game wants me to play it. And to echo what you guys are all saying with this PS2 stuff, what I think is really interesting is how when we look back at like original platformers, 2D platformers, like from the Nintendo, Super Nintendo era, that transition to 3D where we saw Mario 64 turn into more of a open world collectathon, but we saw Crash Bandicoot kind of take the more, we're going to take 2D and 2D platforming and directly make it 3D platforming. It's still obstacle based. It's getting to the end of the level, all of that. This reminds me of one of my favorite franchises of all time, the Prince of Persia Sands of Time trilogy on PlayStation 2, and how when we went to next gen from there, it went to Assassin's Creed, and we never got that quote unquote next gen Prince of Persia of what that could look like. This to me feels like that. This is a Prince of Persia game in terms of gameplay, in terms of the environmental puzzles and the way that the combat is completely involved with all of it, where you're doing different physics-based type abilities that you're getting over time and upgrading them all. And I think that this game kind of, in a weird way, skips a lot of the PS3 generation of stuff, is a PS2 game, but is trying to be a PS4, PS5 game. And I think for the most part, it does that. It does it very well. And I think that even in terms of just control and in terms of the boss fights and the way things are designed and the way they're trying to get you to play the game, there's a lot of modern sensibilities that they do a really good job with. And I think that the biggest problem this game has is how great it is for what it is, which is ostensibly an indie game. This is a very small team, and I feel like we're looking at it and judging it as if it's up there against the modern like PlayStation
like
Studios titles, Ratchet and Clanks and all that, because it looks like that and it kind of plays like that. And there's a lot of elements that are so good that other things are like the bad stuff kind of shines out a lot harder than it normally would. But like this is so damn impressive of a video game to look this amazing, to play this amazing, to be like as good as it is for what it actually is, because it is competing with some of the big dogs out there. And I think that that's where it kind of, falls flat, not flat, but stumbles just
it doesn't live up to that standard, which
yeah.
I think you make a great point there. I think 100% of like that's what it's being compared to, and it's not completely missing by any stretch of the imagination. It's missing broad strokes of it, and so you're sitting there going, oh well, it's not Returnal, it's not God of War, it's not some other PlayStation exclusive, but you're also like, well, no, but it is this team's first game. It is a $40 game. It is this experience, right?
And that's the thing that I think is most impressive, is that they did a lot of things right. This being a $40 title, like this is an incredible $40 title. And the idea that this game hopefully vibes with a lot of people and people enjoy it as much as I am, and it gets a sequel with a bigger production budget and a bigger team and a bigger understanding of.
Don't get into the Patreon reader mail, all right? You got enough sequel talk coming up. Right now, I need to hear from the Nitro Rifle himself, Andy Cortez. Where are you at in Canaan? What do you think of it?
I beat it earlier this morning, and I kept on playing. I think this game is fucking fantastic for it being a studio's first game that is $40, just like you all have already mentioned. I liked the game more and more as it went on. I think the game is not without its issues. Just like Janet was mentioning and Greg was mentioning, you're right there. Just grab the ledge. It's totally okay. But none of those moments detracted from my experience ever. Like they didn't frustrate me enough for me to say, I'm so annoyed with this. I think aside from all that, I think all the puzzle solving environmental things that are going on with the game are so fun and so I don't know, they just feel rewarding. And I think kind of about a third of the way into the game, you unlock an ability that made the game so much more fun than what it already was. And
what's that? The dash? You talking about the dash?
No, the grenade, the bomb.
Oh, the bomb. Yeah, be able to slow down time. That was so helpful.
Well, not only just slow down time, but just the bomb, having to use it to get to certain areas in the world, and then you shoot that gem to spin that rock. Like all that stuff was a lot of fun for me. And
Sure.
I don't love puzzle games, and it's not necessarily even puzzly. Like you don't need to be insanely smart or good at puzzles to understand any of these things, but it feels good to do. It feels rewarding. And when you are doing some of the timed challenges, you sort of just find yourself in a flow. And especially near the end of the game, when you are fighting certain stronger enemies, Bless, I like getting into that. I like mixing it up. You know, like
Dude,
it's a fighting game term. You're getting to the mix ups, and I throw the bomb, shoot the arrow at the bomb, it explodes on them, then shoot their weak point, then parry the next
It's
ability.
so good.
Andy Cortez, you are of course the dodge parry expert, and over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames where you can write in to give us your questions. Kyle Sumner writes in and says, my question is simple. Is there a sweet dodge roll / parry mechanic? That is all.
1000% there is. And I wasn't sure I loved the way it worked at first. I thought you had to hold down LB in a very deliberate, because LB does two things, which I'm not a huge fan of. The left bumper button.
We call it
L1.
We call it L1
What's
here.
L1?
PlayStation podcast.
Get out of here.
I played on PC. I
Wait, the
played with
L's
my
with
Xbox
the
32
L's. You'll be
controller, the
okay.
better controller. So L1, you tap it to sort of do this scanning thing that will, kind of activate certain crystals around you. Or if you hold it, it creates a little bubble shield around you, which is good for defending against enemies. But it's also, you kind of want to hold it at the right time to hit that parry. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to the Souls way of doing it. When an attack is coming, just you try to tap it precisely and bam, you're going to get that nice little parry. But once I started getting it down, it's something you need to get used to, because initially it feels like there's a performance hit of some sort. When you do get the parry, the screen kind of does a very deliberate, we are slowing this down to show you nailed this. Good job, gamer. But it feels like I kept looking at my performance monitor. I kept looking at, that too. I kept looking at my performance monitor to see, like, am I dropping a shitload of frames there? No, it's just the game kind of saying, no, you did a great job right there. And once you start getting into it, and I am, figuring out the timing of all these enemies, there's an enemy towards the end of the game that,
oh my god,
I had such a fucking blast fighting.
I swear to God, we might be thinking of the same enemies. There are quite a few ones. Like there's a lot of boss fights in this game, which I wasn't expecting. A lot of boss fights,
and they're varied, which I really liked. Every boss I thought felt different, had a cool aesthetic, cool vibe.
And that's one thing I'm so impressed by, Greg, is the variety of everything that again, I think it was over the weekend when we didn't have codes yet, and I saw Gene Park from the Washington Post retweet somebody who was like, yo, what's up with Kana? Why aren't we hearing about this? And Gene Park was like, you know what? We should kind of be skeptical. This is the studio's first video game. They worked on the Majora's Mask animated short, and they've never made a video game, and we were a week out and we haven't heard anything. What the hell's going on with this? And I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm kind of worried about this, actually. I hadn't necessarily thought about all those factors. I was just looking forward because the game looked really pretty. But the variety I expected each kind of thing that you explore to be a mirror of the last one, just with a different coating on it. And I expected some of the world exploration elements to be kind of half-assed, and everything felt really cool and different looking. And the variety and everything really surprised me for this being the studio's first game. And I agree with Blessing, going to the cutscenes, you get that little loading screen for like a millisecond, and then it goes to the cutscene, and it's very like, oh, they couldn't find a way to seamlessly implement all this, but let's get that part 2 going, man, because that's going to be so fucking good. Like, for this game to be as good as it is, I'm amazed by it, honestly, and for it to be $40 is really great. And the final boss is kind of bullshit. The difficulty needs to be tuned a little bit.
I swore more during this game than like any game I've played, I think this year, including Demon's Souls, honestly. That's just, and maybe that's because it's, it is easier than Demon's Souls. So it's like, maybe it's like that perfect combination of you're good enough to make progress, but you're not good enough to get the win. And the knife just twists. Like I cursed up a storm playing this game because it's so challenging, but for good reason. Like, I think what I really like about the combat is, especially as you get like a little deeper into the game, the design really does force you to use almost the entirety of the tool set you're given, and it makes it really exciting for when you get those upgrades where I'm like, oh my god, okay, finally I'm going to get, an upgrade to, increase my shield, because for me, I can't parry like in any game. all these games are like, and then you time it. I'm like, I can't time it. I don't know if it's because I don't have good rhythm. I can't keep count. Like, I can't parry. We're just going to throw the parry out the window. We're never going to do it. It's not worth the risk for me. So for me, I was big on dodging in this game a lot. And I had to get used to the dodge because the dodge is very like iframe oriented. Like, I made the Death's Door comparison. And if you play that game, that one doesn't really have iframes in the same way. You kind of just got to move out of the way of the attack. But for this, you can kind of roll into the enemies. And I wasn't, I don't play a lot of super combat heavy games. So that took some getting used to for me. But I love like the push and pull of how the combat's constructed because, for those listening who haven't played yet, you have like the rot ability, which kind of like it's a meter that can fill up based on you doing attacks. If you play on the story mode, though, I think it automatically fills up those meters, so you don't have to be as aggressive to get your powers. And that lets you use like your rot abilities, which can be anything from one of my favorite things in games where you like kind of send an enemy out to do the work for you a little bit, and then you can get some extra hits in. They have other things like you can load up, an arrow shot and infuse that with rot and make a more powerful attack.
Really quick, can you explain what story? You say story mode. I feel like people might be like, "Well, there's a multiplayer." What?
Yeah, so story mode, there's it's just their phrase for easy mode. There's a story mode that's an easy mode, a regular mode that's called Spirit like Guide, and I think there's like 1 to 2 hard difficulties.
There's 2 more, yeah. So when you get I have it over here. So it's story mode, then for easy, normal Spirit Guide, expert Spirit Guide is the highest you have at the launch, and then there's Master after you beat it that unlocks that you have to replay the game through.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what those other ones are. Like the normal was more than enough for me, and honestly, I dropped it down a few times because I'm like, I'm not gonna live here. Like I can't do it.
When I beat it last night and it got back after the credits to the screen, it's like, congratulations, you've unlocked Master difficulty. I immediately hit up Bless and I was just like, Kana, you've unlocked Master delivery. And I was like, fuck you. Like, I'm not doing this.
Respectfully, never. Which is wild because it's so cute. Like, and not that cute games can't be dynamic and challenging. Like, I don't want to ever, seem like I'm implying that because I love those kind of games, but I was just shocked that like this cute little it's like a children's film of murder, like it's just like it's funny. Wild.
I mean, I think the Souls comparison you made earlier, and I know you weren't really comparing, but you're talking about difficulty, it's kind of apt because that did pop in my mind a few times as I was playing through. Some of these boss fights were reminiscent of me fighting Orphan of Kos in Bloodborne, which is like, for people who know, that is the most difficult, or one of the most difficult boss fights you'll get in the Bloodborne DLC. I had similar levels of frustration fighting certain bosses in this game on the standard difficulty. And I think part of that is the fact that you don't expect that from this game. And so any sort of like difficulty that is higher than average will automatically make me go, why is this game doing this to me? Why is this so hard? But at the same time, I really enjoyed the process for the most part of figuring out a boss's routine and going at it over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I think Andy touches on something that really was the key to my arc while playing this game, where in the beginning, I liked the game fine. I was like, okay, this game seems fun. The combat is there. The platforming is whatever. PS2, it's reminiscent of old games that I like. Cool. As I started unlocking more abilities and I started doing the thing where I was mixing them up and I was like, cool, I got the bomb. All right, cool. The bomb has a cool mechanic that I really like where you throw it, and after a few seconds, it'll explode on its own. But if you press the L1 bubble scan that she does, that'll make it explode. Or if you shoot it with an arrow, that'll make it explode also. And so you have this, or at least when I was playing, I had this flow of, cool, arrow towards an enemy. They're getting close. Let me bomb them. I'm going to scan. I'm going to roll in. I'm going to hack at them a little bit, roll out, wait for them to come back at me, and then I'll switch up my moves again. And that really shines when you get into the second half, or when you start, at the very least, unlocking more of your abilities. And it has a good skill tree system to where a lot of the abilities, you don't have to have earlier abilities to unlock. You can just unlock them off rip as long as you have the collectibles, the resources, the currency to do so. And so you can really kind of mix and match, like, cool, I want this thing first because this thing seems really cool, or I want this other thing over here first because this thing seems like it's really going to be cool.
It was a way to build out your play style, right? Which again, exactly. I appreciate it too, because there'd be new areas I'd walk into, and I'm still very much that gamer of, okay, in this kind of game, there's only so many rot, which are the cute little furry guys that are running around.
Worst name ever.
Terrible name.
Why would they call these things rot? I don't get it.
I love them in the game. Things like gross, especially too because it's like, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at first. When they called him out rot, I was like, are you sure these are
Well, they're
rot? Like,
part
are
of the
these things you're talking
infection,
about?
right? They're part of the thing that have invaded the world.
I
They're
guess,
cute.
yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know, but also really quick, you can put hats on them, and they're adorable.
Yes, you can. And I love them so much because they're little guys that just follow you around like Pikmin and Pikmin. But like
Yeah,
they're
very Pikmin.
They're very Pikmin, but they're very tiny. And so like it's one of those things where I'll be like, I forgot they were there half the time, but then I'll peep them
They
because
pop back in.
they pop back in, and the more you collect, the more will just congregate around you. And so by the end of the game, I had like 20 of these little guys, and they were all wearing different hats, and like some of them had different skins, and they're adorable.
Ian Savino writes in and says, "How adorable are little furry guys?" Yeah, they're super adorable. I never got annoyed by them. I early on, you're like, God, these guys are gonna be like annoying, but they were.
Everyone has chubby cheeks in this game, especially at the beginning. So that's kind of a lot,
right.
but
And they all show up on screen, which is really cool. On the PC, one of the settings is you can control. I don't know if you can do it on console or not, but you can control the amount of rot that you're seeing visibly to help with performance. Oh. And you can have like a small, medium, or I think all. And if you select all, I have 65 little rots. Like, and I'm counting them one by one. Like, yeah, they're all here. This is fucking awesome. And I see all their little hats, and I want to keep on finding more and more hats, and I want more variety of hats because some of them, it's like, well, those three kind of all have a similar color schemes. Let me get more yellow in there. Let me go more red. I want kind of this really little colorful army. But I just wanted to touch on the difficulty really quick. I told Bless because I started off this game, and it's hard to differentiate what are. I guess now I can tell what are main bosses and what are just kind of mini bosses.
Sure.
But I had done about like maybe 2 main bosses and like 3-ish mini bosses. And I'd switched the game to hard mode because I was like, oh, this doesn't feel challenging enough. I want it to feel like a punishing kind of Souls game, you know? And then actually it might be the boss that we're looking at right now that I got to like, I think I beat it around like 8 tries. And I was like, all right, that was a lot. And then the next boss, I got to around 10 tries, and I was like, I'm never going to fucking beat this game at this rate. Like, before the review, I have to drop this to normal, or else it's going to take me 10 tries to beat every upcoming boss, and I won't beat it in time. So I ended up dropping back to normal. But even on the final sequence, which is a very much an endurance challenge where you're going through multiple rounds and you're not able to get health back. And that was... even on normal, like, holy shit, this is really fucking tough. And I'm on my 5th try right now, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of progress. But once you sort of start figuring out more how to deal with crowd control, I think the game ramps up difficulty when you're fighting a big boss, and then there's a bunch of little fuckers trying to get you, or trying to get at you, throwing bullshit at you from miles away that you can't even
those
see. It's
moths.
like, oh, fuck you, dude.
Right, dude? They're like the weakest enemy in the game, and I found them so annoying.
Or that guy with the explosive, the little like explosive red balls.
Yeah.
Quickly arrow those out. But if you miss them, they like are just super persistent.
Fact, you can press L1 for your bubble, and that'll take them out.
Oh,
I learned that later, and I was like, "Thank God, I have a solution for that."
I didn't use the bubble enough I didn't use the bubble enough as an attack to set off bombs and stuff like you're talking about. Even you said, I was like, "Oh right, I did learn that." It's like we're all over the place, but it's a good conversation. It's similar to back to my thing where I've been saying it's a PS2 game in 2021, right? What I kept telling Bless even, right, would be that when we were playing, it was always that thing of don't overthink it. Like I found myself doing so many times what I would do when I would be playing a PS2 game of, man, I can't open this door. Maybe it's that thing from 4 rooms ago. I need to go button. And it never was. It's something in that room, right? And that's where I think it was Andy talking about the puzzle mechanics, right? Of it, of like they are satisfying and they're not like the most intense puzzles, but they were that idea of I remember the very specific one that I was stuck on with Bless, where I was like, how do I open? I know what I'm supposed to do. There's these blue gems up here. What do I need to do? And by the time and I'm no spoilers, by the time I figured out what they wanted me to do, I'd been there a while. And when I figured it out, it wasn't oh, fuck you. It was oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Dude, that to me, That to me is what makes this game special, because I have that feeling constantly. I think it's extremely well paced, this video game, from beginning to where I'm at, and I'm expecting it to go through the end, in both the way that the abilities are given to you, the way that the boss battles are kind of ramping up, because like they are very difficult, and every single one I didn't beat on the first try. Like there's always at least 2 or 3 or more attempts, and I loved it because I always felt like I was the one fucking up. Like I understood what was going on, and learning their patterns, learning all that stuff. It's fun to mix the abilities. And I think that I know the exact room you're talking about, Greg, with that puzzle. And I was in the exact same place with you, where it was getting to the point of frustration. And then when I got it, I was like, man, this game really is, every single time you're in a room and you don't know what to do, you just kind of need to stop and be like, well, what would make sense? And that's usually the answer. And I think that they do a good job with that, and applying it to the boss battle stuff. The one thing that I really don't like with that, and specifically with the boss fights being as difficult as they are, is the way that the rot work as a weapon, and like with all your different abilities. Like mainly they're attached to the square button, where it's like you're supposed to look at something, hit square, and then they'll do something based on what other combination of buttons you're holding.
Oh, it was X for me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
PlayStation podcast, Andy.
Get out of
But,
here, Andy.
but it reminded me a lot of one of my least favorite things about Final Fantasy 15, which is trying to open a treasure box. The prompt would never come up when I wanted it to. It was like I would have to move the camera to get the exact right angle. And I feel like that happened to me constantly with the rot in this game. And for difficult boss fights where there's a lot going on, there was multiple times where I died, and it wasn't my fault because the rot just didn't pull the health to me when I wanted it to.
Or
and
you do like the heavy attack, and like it doesn't point to the exact enemy that you wanted it to, where you're just like, I'm aiming at the big creature. Why did you go and attack like this small dude who was like to my left?
I had the thing you're talking about, Tim, so many times, right? Where in the heat of the battle, I'm running around and I'm like, all right, cool. There are 2, maybe 3 health fountains in here, right? Because in boss fights, you can, or I guess in just combat rooms, you can send the rots to these gems that'll bring back health for you, but they're one-time use and then they're done. So it was that, okay, all right, cool. I know where it is. If I get in trouble, I'll get it. And then I'd get in trouble and I'd be running around, and now I don't see it. Now, when I was just fucking around, the rot saw it, no problem. Now that I needed it, it was like, no, such a bitch to try to get him over there to get it.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with Barrett there, where whenever I fucked up Barrett with those heavy attacks, I know which one you're talking about, like the rot upgraded one. If I screwed up, I knew that, I wasn't looking the way that I should have been looking, and that one's on me. Where with the thing that Tim is saying, I definitely agree, because it did feel like you had to be a little too precise with some of those button prompts, and I feel like the game was designed in a way similar to just platforming and grabbing ledges, where everything has to be a little too precise and there isn't a whole lot of give there for the player. But in combat, I rarely ever felt frustrated with like, except for maybe this boss that we're watching right now on screen. For audio listeners,
This guy you hate.
except for audio listeners, there's a if you've ever played Sekiro, there's an enemy called the chained ogre, and the chained ogre is a very early kind of mini boss you fight, and similar to a couple of the enemies in this game, when they jump at you, you may think you have jumped early enough to be out of the way, but they will magnetize to your bitch ass.
Yep.
Like when they're midway through their jump, they will still somehow just direct target lock right on you.
The hops are incredible from these bosses.
And those moments can be kind of frustrating, because with the chained ogre, it's like, I am fucking behind you, and somehow you like magnetize right back to me, and that's bullshit because I'm evading your jump or whatever. There are a couple of enemies that do that, but for the most part, I rarely got frustrated with, like, if ever, in this game of being like, oh, that's fucking bullshit, that's cheesy as shit. It was usually just me dying because I fucked up.
For me,
there was a lot of,
and this might have been my experience, but like there are quite a few boss fights where I was like, these damn iframes gotta work better. Like this isn't registering the way that I see that it should be registering. It's funny because I took notes as I was playing this game for the review, and one of my notes literally says the combat can get frustrating with timing on boss hits being so unforgiving. It makes Souls games seem chill. And I wrote that in the heat of being angry. That was like, that's very much an overstatement, me like just going off and being angry in the moment, but legitimately like it felt like that sometimes, where I'm like, how the fuck did that hit? Like, why are they pulling out this attack at this time? They just did that attack 3 times in a row. They're gonna do that attack again.
Yeah, I feel like you're
that part
talking. Is it about this? Like, I remember this boss specifically that we're looking at on the video now, and it is fairly predictable. But there's a part where like I was playing, and like it's like around his second phase where he does like 4 attacks back to back, just complete. And then it's tough too because when you get hit in this game, you do have like usually a bit of like fallback, so you kind of take a second to get up. And I'm like, girl, if you don't get up right now, it's about to be lights out. And I would refer to like that back to back as I'm like, oh, he on that wombo combo. He's just gonna dig in, and you're just not gonna get up.
I legit was having a time with one of the later bosses where legitimately, like, one of the things I was saying as I was fighting the boss, I was like, bro, who are you training for? Because it's not me. I made the same
jokes. I'm like, they're trying to get hired. Like, this is a freelancer
like,
trying to turn staff.
Who are you training to fight? Because you are way higher level than I am right now. And it's the same thing where one of the bosses has like a 5-hit combo where they would go like 1-2, and then the third hit would be a lunge, and I'm like, okay, I gotta remember to dodge sideways for that one. But as soon as they do that lunge right after, they're doing like a down hit, and it's like, why is this necessary in this beautiful game, in this gorgeous, cute little game? Why are these combos necessary?
When you tweeted out the subtweet about having trouble with the final boss, that part of the final boss, because spoilers, there's different phases to bosses. If you play any Souls game, there are different phases. I beat that first phase. I was like, one fucking tried that bitch, dude. Easy as shit. Give me a harder challenge. And then it got harder.
I need to bounce out, but the last thing I want to say is the most controversial take I think I'm going to have about this video game. It is obviously, I really enjoy it from a gameplay perspective. I think it is utterly gorgeous. The team that made the Majora's Mask short film from a couple years ago, that if you haven't seen, you got to go check it out. That thing is stunning, better than Nintendo's ever going to do with Zelda, with that type of stuff. And this game is that, but a video game, and they totally nailed it. It deserves a better score. It deserves a more memorable score. The score is serviceable.
Man.
It's fine.
Highly
It's
disagree.
fine.
Getting spicy.
It's not bad at all.
It's spicy.
But this game deserves, with its visuals as good as they are, and with so much heart, so much great things, it needs a score that is more memorable than this. Bye, guys.
But he just dropped that bomb.
I will hear no comments from you. I'm gone.
I completely
I'm only a third of the way
disagree.
through, and like
I think the score is
there's so
good.
many tracks that will like get stuck in my head because of like how just like charming they are.
I think the thing for me, because I'm gonna agree and disagree with Tim, where the part where I disagree is I think the place where the score shines for me is it does kind of sound like a PS2 3D platformer, like a really good PS2 3D platformer score, but modernized in a way that makes it not feel like it. You know, like in PS2 games, you'll have the volume turned up and like the score is taking up most of the sound in the game. But here it feels subtle, and it feels like a modernized version of that. The place where I will agree with Tim is that this game looks so gorgeous that like I feel like this should have a top tier S tier score to it. Like this plays like it should have Grant Kirkhope composing on this thing. Like I feel like the presentation is so good in every other aspect that I could see it having a better score than it does have.
It's similar to whenever Tim and Andy start talking about overrated things, right? Where I complimented throughout talking to people the score. Like I like it. I feel I had had it cranked up. This again the game is gorgeous, right? Let alone the cutscenes, but gorgeous. And I thought it really set the tone. But I am now here on the other side of it, and I'm like, and I can't remember any of the tracks, right? And you can compare that to Tome from last week, where I'm listening to the soundtrack on Spotify because it's I think it's so good, right? The Fisherman song and shit like that. Where I'm like, okay, maybe I understand the point. Barrett, I know you wanted to get in there. Sorry.
No, I feel like I said.
I thought I heard you. I thought I heard you go, and I cut you off. My apologies.
Yeah.
It was me. I was gonna say that I thought the score hit really well with a lot of the different cutscene moments. I wish the cutscenes were all real time because I just love that crispy look of it. But goddamn, like the level of cutscene quality, it's some of the highest shit that I've ever seen of all time. Like this is like incredible production levels on every cutscene. Yeah. One of my problems with the game is that I never felt super attached to much of what was happening.
See, I knew you were going to get there. That's why I want to interject with Ryan Poala Higgins, who wrote into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames and says, hey, everyone. The game initially gained a lot of interest due to its aesthetic, but we haven't heard much about the story. Obviously, without sharing spoilers, does the game have a satisfying story? Andy Cortez.
It's never something that grabbed me initially, Greg, and I love that you knew I was going there because we're just always on the same page.
Simpatico.
You and I.
Real game
like
over here.
I know right now Jen's gonna go in labor on the day that I said she is.
Okay, what's in my
Whenever
hand? I
that
think it might be
is.
today. What's in my hand?
What's in your hand?
Yeah.
Oh,
An
a
egg
frog.
McMuffin.
You said egg McMuffin. Andy said a frog.
Yeah.
You're looking for a mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Ah,
Sorry, everybody.
God damn it! I
Fucking
should have
gonna be
known.
that thing.
I should have
We
known.
were pretty close.
It's nothing that super grabbed me, unfortunately, but I do love the overall concept of everything. I like the idea of somebody being a spirit guide and the idea that some spirits never move on because they feel, it's just like Ghostbusters, Greg. They just feel like
Very
they're
much
stuck
like
here
it.
and they need to haunt the world.
Mhm.
But I do think it wraps up pretty nicely. And I think those cutscenes in conjunction with the score backing it, like I'm getting goosebumps on a lot of these different cutscenes, even if I don't necessarily care 10 out of 10 level about what's happening with these characters. There's some really beautiful moments though, for sure.
And that's the thing about it, right? Where I think if you're talking about the overall story, the overarching story, Ryan, like it's is it satisfying? I don't think so. Like you know what I mean? Like I thought for sure when at the end there's a thing where somebody's Kane is like, there's only one thing. I was like, oh, it's gonna be this. Oh, and it wasn't that at all. Oh, that's interesting because I thought we were on this journey because it doesn't matter. But
I'm right there with you.
For the first you're like basically think of it as the game, right? That there's like 3 episodes inside of it of like ghosts you're dealing with, right? And those first 2 episodes, first one I thought hit really well in terms of like, oh my god, what a touching
100%.
story, and I'm glad to move this character on. The second one I teared up at when they were like when the final cutscene was playing for the second one, I was like, oh my god, that was good. And the third one's like good, but just not that same. Like that stuff crushes. I think is great. And again, I do love the concept of Kana's job is she's this spirit guide, right? And she's here to help people cross over. It kind of reminds me of Spiritfarer. But in terms of that being stitched together throughout, no. Like your goal is to help these ghosts. Got it? Great, cool. That's it. Like I don't feel like I wasn't given something in the beginning that took me all the way through. But again, that speaks to the PS2-ness of it. Where the cutscenes are great, and then I'm out of it, and now it's like, cool. Now I want to shoot this guy between the eyes, and here comes one of these goddamn moths again.
Oh, the moths, by the way, the hitboxes on the moths. Like, what? They either take a one-shot headshot or they just take like 3 shots, and I don't get it.
You gotta pull it all the way. You gotta pull it all the way.
Andy,
it's always all the way. I have have my whole playthrough
If you
recorded.
had those haptic triggers,
Thank you,
know
Greg.
that's all the way.
For sure. If you did have the adaptive
you
triggers,
hear that
probably
shit
know
going
for sure.
zzz, and it's like that's when you know. That's when you know
sure.
it's
Let
over.
me- that feel.
Let me not use my incredibly precise keyboard and mouse.
Hey, man, you give him problems, I'm
I
giving
think the
solutions.
white dot.
That's
I think
all.
the dot also goes from an outline to fill through white. But I'm with you, Andy. Of like,
I'm charged to. I know it's not a charging thing. Trust me, I know it's not a charging thing. But some of these motherfuckers take just one shot in the head.
And again, this is.
I don't get it.
No, I'm with you. That happened to me so many times, and it's back to the thing of like how Tim was saying like he didn't in combat feel like it was that that's on me thing, right? Like I feel like we've played so many games, Returnal being one of them, right? Where it's like when I fuck up and I lose, I'm like that's on me. There were multiple times in this game where I died and be like, what the fuck? God damn it! Like what rules are you playing by? Because suddenly you're breaking the shield, but I thought you couldn't break the shield. Now I think there is a meta to it. There is something there if I really wanted to dial into. Again, like we can talk more about upgrades where you go in there and you spend your currency and like you can make your shield stronger and shit like that. But it was this thing of like I was frustrated at times and not in a fun way. And I think again that's where my lessening of enjoying the game goes on. And I think that's just a me thing and what I look for in games and what I want to play in a game. I really, really dig.
Maybe the moths are the only thing that I did have frustration with. now that I come to think of it, that is the one thing.
Something hurt you because you're like, oh yeah, and then I was like, la da da da. It all makes sense, and I'm like, why does he go back and then he swings forward? How are you going back and forward at the same time?
I mean, I guess I'm used to that type of bullshit just with like Souls games in general, and I'm like, you haven't done that pattern before.
Like
you
I came here because of the cute rot, and now I'm out here trying to dodge, swipe, infuse. I'm like, there's a lot going on.
The funny thing is, like, I kept having that feeling of like, man, at least Souls games are fair. when it came to boss fights in this game, and again, it was that thing of being angry in the moment. But like, there's so many times where I personally was like, man, this is more. This thing is more on this game having just unfair animations or like just weird decisions in some of the boss behavior over like me not getting it. Like there are times where I was like, I have this figured out. I know this boss's behavior because I've fought this boss 20 times now. why is this dodge roll so inconsistent, or why is the boss behavior so inconsistent to when I do this move or whatever the thing is.
When I time it the same time with like this specific attack, why does it work to get away from that attack one time and then the next time it's the exact same timing and then I get hit, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the rule set, I don't think overall the rule set is like, I'm kind of in between of like, there is like a lot of bullshit that I don't feel like is my fault. And then there are some things where I'm like, okay, that was on me. I knew what I messed up there. I don't think the rule set overall is bad. I think the way the game lacks in teaching you the rule set is kind of like what shines through. And you're just like, what are the rules that we're playing by? Like you were saying, Greg.
Yeah, and I'll also say it's good for the most part too. Like, it's just the thing of when I take it and compare it to other action games that I really love, I think that's where it starts to falter. Where I think this game has such a good setup for what the framework of it is going into like exploration puzzles and then boss fights, and there being plentiful boss fights. And I think the boss design is really cool, both visually and then also just from like concept of this boss is this kind of creature, this boss is this kind of character, this boss is more long range, this boss is all close range. I think that stuff is fantastic, but I think when it comes down to the actual frames and animations and actual like mechanics of the boss fight, you can't compare it to like some of the better options you have out there for action games.
And again, sorry, go ahead, please.
Well,
no, please,
I was about to change the topic back to the story.
I wanted to, and I think that speaks to what we've all been talking about in this PS2 nature of it, that there is a language here, but it's sometimes obtuse in how it's trying to teach you things. And you know what I mean? Like there was the entering an area for the first time. I was trying to make this point a while ago and we got way off of it, but like, you know, I'm trying to collect everything. I'm trying to do everything. I want all the rod. I want all the hats. I want all the stupid things. I want all the mail. Like I'm trying to just 100% everything. And so when you'd enter an area and start fighting enemies, there would be this thing of like, oh, fuck, what do you want me to do? And that would always become the hardest part for me, I felt, as the game started dropping basically every one of those 3 episodes you go into, you get a new power. And then you have to put that into your repertoire, right? But when you've been fighting so long one way, I feel like it was always hard to then remember that, like, okay, cool. Like the first time I got trapped in a crystal prism, I was like, block, whatever, do it. And it didn't even dawn on me until like the third enemy who used it on me of like, oh, I can dash out of it. Like they just gave me the dash. I should be using the dash. Okay, shit. Yeah. And like a lot of people would come in and like, I don't want my handhold. Totally. The game is expressing this. Again, I'm telling you now, you know, forest for the trees kind of conversation of you get a new power, use the new fucking power all the time. It's probably going to be the answer to the problem.
I was going to put myself on the record on the opposite side from Blessing for people who may be worried about combat. Is that like I think the game is incredibly impressive, and I think it's a lot better combat wise than a lot of games that have tried to follow the Dark Souls mold. And you know, we always say that Dark Souls started this whole new kind of thing of combat and how we approach fighting enemies and being more methodical about our hits and stuff. And I feel like I've played a lot of video games that want to do that, and I think this one does it a lot better than those other games. Not that it's as good as Dark Souls by any means, but it is one of the better feeling ones that has at least tried to do that. And again, for this to be their first video game, I'm so excited for whatever they're going to do next.
And I would say this game, and I know people will be tired of the Dark Souls comparisons because we compare every action game nowadays to Dark Souls. But I will say this game does feel like Dark Souls for the family. This feels like Dark Souls that your 10-year-old cousin might be able to get into, right? It's gonna be really difficult, and you might have to bump it down. But it is that level of like, oh shit, this combat is really engaging, and you have to be methodical and be careful with how you approach things.
And also, I will say Dark Souls, I think, is less. I think for me, this game is more of God of War 2018 for the family, with using all of the abilities because in Dark Souls, like you kind of just main one thing, right? Like I'm going to use my blade. I know what my moves are. I just have to be pin perfect, precise with all of my movements right here. And I have to parry like, you know, right on the pixel or whatever. But I feel like this is a lot more on the side of God of War, where I am having more fun with the mixing up of abilities. And like Jan was mentioning earlier, the future bosses that you do encounter require you to use everything you've got. Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to, but you're going to have a lot more fun, and it's going to be way more satisfying when you are clowning this motherfucker out, using that ability, shooting that arrow. It gets him weak. Go in for that heavy attack that you just upgraded. It's so fun.
When I had the ability to freeze off the rot bomb, right? And then when I had the rot hammer upgraded, and you would freeze these giant guys who had been giving me so much trouble, run over there and like take off a huge hit of health. It was like, oh my God, that feels good.
There's nothing like
there's one boss. Go for it.
Okay, I was gonna say the reintroduction of enemies is really fun too, where it's like that classic trope of like mid boss picks up shift as late like lower enemy later.
Yeah.
Where you see these enemies that maybe they weren't like formal mini bosses because they didn't have a big health bar above them, but they sort of were like the headliner of that combat arena, and you're used to like really struggling taking them out and learning like the ins and outs on how to like get your rot to regen and all that. And then when it's suddenly like, okay, and now it's that, but like two of them or like multiple of them, and kind of learning how to handle that stuff that you couldn't handle before is really satisfying. And then I think to like bring it back to the point of like exploration, because I think some people might be listening to this and thinking, oh my God, this is so like combat heavy. And I think the combat is the mechanical star here, but I also really love the exploration. And I think one thing that's fun about that is they have challenge chests that you can open, and then you have a combat challenge. So I think that's a really fun marriage of the combat and the exploration, and then you also get a reward. One thing I also really liked about the exploration too was it felt very not necessarily this good, but it reminded me of Breath of the Wild Korok seeds, with how you would like use the rot to maybe move a stat. Okay, well I got to put maybe 3 owl statues together, or like what we're seeing on screen now. It's like a very that chicory movement of like we're carrying the rock over, and then I'm gonna jump on the rock. So it has like a little bit of like Breath of the Wild, a little bit of Pikmin. I thought that stuff was really charming and fun to go around and look for. And I loved how like pretty much every element of like collectathon stuff had a actual like practicality, whether it was like, okay, I'm finding more rot, and like you need a certain rot, like amount of rot to like unlock some of the abilities, or maybe I'm getting currency to buy the hats, maybe I'm finding a hat, maybe I'm like getting just more stuff to spend on the actual upgrades. So I felt very incentivized to go and look for the stuff, and I just thought it was like really well communicated and just fun to like dig around and explore.
And
I thought you nailed it right there, Janet, with the variety in the variety in different collectible things that you are going for, in that you're not always doing the same thing to get that collectible thing. And I think that's so important for a game to feel different, to not feel like you are using the same exercise from front to back to get that one thing and this other different thing and another different thing. There's always a different way to go about it. And the way that they have designed the exploration and the world. At first, I was like, I don't know if I'm loving this world design, but I always found myself going in the right direction subconsciously. And I think that's such a hard thing to have players do when you're not having a waypoint with arrows saying, come over here. But when you end up at the right spot without even having to really think of where you were going, I think that's really good game design, a really good level design.
Scott over on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames wrote in with a question about that. He says, is the game similar to Tomb Raider with a wide linear approach to level design? And I would say no, right? Like the idea, of course, is that as you play through these levels and unlock you have a hub world, right? And a lot of it's locked down when you start. But then as you beat the bosses we're talking about, mini bosses we're talking about, you gain new abilities to come back and then progress to new areas or move away the infection or the rot that's there. So to your point, Andy, right? Like I feel like the game does a great job of only having the right pathways open for you at the time. So you're always being funneled to the thing, and then you come out and you take away the other thing, which opens up the new areas, which you can see on the map. The maps I thought was really well done, and get to the next thing and figure your way out. I was never lost in the game, with the exception, I think, of one time. But again, it was where I was overthinking it. Where I was like, I can't open this door. Clearly, that thing's gonna light up, so I can't do it though. So I'll go all the way up here, fuck around on top of it, and then it turned out no, moron, turn around and shoot that thing in the log and do that thing over. Okay, sorry, I'm stupid.
Yeah, there were only a few times where I was lost, where I wish the game had some kind of on-screen waypoint, because it does have a map that you can open up and it'll tell you what things you're looking for on the map or what direction you want to go to. But that stuff it's not always one for one of like, oh, you actually have to go through this cave over here, and then once you come out the cave, that's when you'll end up on the point on the map that you're actually looking for. Like there was one that I was super frustrated, right? I think I texted Greg and then texted him like a few minutes later of like, I figured it out, I'm a genius. But in that one that I texted Greg about, I got to the point,
Beast.
The Balenciaga Beast, that's what they call me. I got to that point where, I got to the point where the game wanted me to be, looked around and I was like, oh, this can't be it. Because I looked around for a couple minutes and didn't find the thing. And then spent a good maybe 30 minutes just circling around the map, finding every point that's near the thing. All right, oh no, there's this other part of the map that like, okay, it's right there, but I had to get over the cliff, but there's no way for me to get over the cliff. And then eventually I just circled back around and then looked around and was like, oh, it's a blue gem that I had to hit on this tree in order to unlock the next door.
Which,
and
to that point,
that was the thing I was missing.
Did y'all ever use the game help? Like, did anyone here use the game help functionality in here?
I tried using it. So I used it for the thing. I used it for the exact situation I'm talking about. And it's funny because that thing told me that I had the blue gem, but I couldn't recognize where in the map that the thing was because it was in an area of the map where everything looked the same. And so it was just showing me the blue gem in the tree. So, but I was like, all right, but where is that tree? But there were other times where I think a couple of times where one, it did work out for me where I was looking for a thing in the game told me. And then another time where I had a question, the game just did not have the answer for me.
Yeah, I will say it's at first it's like a mixed bag for me because I didn't use it like that many times, and like I'm sure maybe I don't know if anyone's doing game help reviews where they're like just looking at how good that service is if you're playing on PS5, but like early on, like I was stuck on one puzzle, so I was like, let's see if the game help has anything, and it had a great solution, broken down perfectly, couple multi-steps, video. I was like, dope. I had a question, you gave me the answer, and we can move on. And then another time, it was, again, one of those issues where I was just sort of not exactly sure, like, how to get somewhere, because I was, like, sliding off these platforms. I'm like, this can't be right. I'm missing something obvious. Let me just look at the game help. Why spend the 3 minutes just for the flex that no one's even going to know about unless I mention it here, which I am. And I look at the game help, and it's that thing I hate that happens on PlayStation Game Help, where it's like, explore the underground cave. That's the regular objective. Details. Check out the cave. Yeah, no shit. That's the objective. Where do I go? So I will say it's a little bit of a mixed bag there. I imagine when it's maybe the game designers are like, here's this puzzle, I think maybe then you'll see the solution. But I feel like if it's, I'm a little turned around, I don't know which direction I'm going in, it might be a bit more of a mixed bag on whether or not they're going to answer that question. And then I'm still waiting for like game help to step it up and give like combat tips. So I'm like, where's like the bot? Like, anyway, but I think it was actually pretty solid.
You want that AI pad that's
Yeah,
pop in. Like, we notice you're not parrying, Janet. Let us explain how to do this.
One of these games is going to teach me how to parry, because every time it's introduced, and like I can get it sometimes, but then it's like for each time I get it, I'm also gonna have to like take all this damage. Like no one's paying for the damage I'm taking.
The parry timing in this game is really fucking weird, I will say.
I don't like pairing with the shield either, but like the bubble.
Let's me and you sit down. We'll play through Sekiro Shadows Die twice, and by the end of that game, you will be a parry master.
I was the parry god in this game. When that motherfucker's throwing that gigantic log at you like a boomerang, I'm just hitting that shit back. I'm a fucking god in this game.
That guy specifically.
I am somersaulting out of the way like a coward, Andy. I'm like, I got nothing for this guy. I'm out of here.
Death. Like, are you kidding me? I'm burning on the ground.
There's a part near the end where you are going through that marathon of endurance shit. And I am getting to the very end with a full health bar. And I'm like, dude, I can't be touched right now. This is like the fucking run. And luckily it was the run. Because it was this morning like at 10:45. And I was like, motherfucker, I hope I beat this shit, dude.
Well, I want to rewind a little bit. Because like there have been multiple things that I wanted to comment on. But one of them coming off of Andy talking about combat and all this stuff was the game, I think, does such a good job of introducing bosses and having those boss fights be unique, like we talked about before. But there was one that I felt was so good later in the game that I won't spoil for anybody. But it was so good where it was one of the ones that had a really cool introduction. And then from there, got into the fight and I beat it without dying. And I immediately saved the clip. Right? I immediately saved it because the game does have that good satisfaction of like that cinematic presentation, the vibes of it, and everything going in, I think just feels so good, especially when you're able to come out and be like victorious like that. And so that's one thing I love. And then also to work my way all the way back to, I believe it was Ryan Powell at Higgins who asked about story, right? Like I wanted to comment on that because I'm with you guys that the story never had me all the way engaged. I never cared too much about what was happening. It very much felt like the PS2 platformer thing of the cutscenes are here to entertain me and bring me along to the next thing that can contain that'll throw me back into gameplay. I will say that it did really adore the world. I think there's something really good about the world and the aesthetic and the rules they set up and the I guess like everything surrounding like what the lore of this world is that really makes me want a sequel. I want to see them explore this further because I think again like the spirit I forget what they call it. I want to say spirit detective, but that's Yu Yu Hakusho.
Guide?
The spirit guide, yeah, thank you. The spirit guide concept I think is really cool and allows them to kind of get into weird different like, all right, cool, what are the different spirits of this world? All right, cool, like what are their problems? What is the history of this village that you're exploring? I think all that stuff has so much potential and so much promise, and I could see in a sequel how easily they could step up in terms of actually giving us characters that we care about more. Not to say that I didn't care about Kana, but I didn't care about Kana that much. Yeah,
No.
like I think the characters in this game are more so cute, adorable, and just gorgeous, more so than they are interesting. And there's not a character in here where I'm like, I hope I see them in the next game so I can follow more of their adventures.
Sure.
All of them are kind of forgettable for the most part, and so I want to see them iterate on that in a sequel.
I have a big problem with this game, actually. You know what? This is going to drop it down several points to like at least a 2 out of 10. Why the fuck can't I use photo mode when I'm cuddling with my little rot? Why
I noticed that too.
Why the fuck not, Janet? Am I not you have a mode essentially. There's a button you can do, chat, or I'll immediately reference chat. You can hit right on the D-pad and you sit down, and it's this little cute thing where all of your rot kind of like gather around you, and you can rotate the camera, and it's just a little cute there for non-gameplay purposes. You can make the rot dance on top of you, or it'll sneeze at one point. They just do really, really cute shit. But in that mode, you cannot use photo mode, and I'm sure they're gonna fix that because why wouldn't you? Like, I can use photo mode at any other moment except for that moment.
Actually, I also think you can't use photo mode, and maybe I'm wrong, and I just maybe clicked the wrong button. But when there's a mechanic that I really like in the game, where you're sort of, it's all about like healing the earth, and you're cleansing like shrines in different areas, usually through like combat, and then you use your rot to like, do the final touches on cleansing the area. But there's a mechanic where you can grow like this bit of magical water, and then the rot can attach to it and sort of form like a water snake type thing.
Wait, you liked this mechanic?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's the clunkiest. I think it's the clunkiest thing in the game.
What? Okay, I didn't say it was perfectly made. Now I didn't say it don't need work. But what I liked about it,
concept is very good.
They use it
looked really cool. It looked really cool. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't use it like in combat or something. I was just like, growing some flowers and like.
There was one combat scenario. There was one combat scenario where that thing was my savior.
I did use it. It was like in a cave or something.
Yeah, it was in a cave. Okay.
Yeah, I did use it then, and I was like, it's all good. I could play. I've played plenty of clunky games. I'm like, we got this. It's you, me, and the rot. Let's go.
Oh man, Janet, Recore. This game is Recore all day.
Oh my god. Okay, so don't even do this game like that because Recore broke my heart so hard. It is better than Recore.
Yeah, it's way better than Recore. Yeah.
What I was gonna say, the water dragon thing looks really cool. Even if you think it's clunky, I think it's really pretty looking, and I really wanted to take like a cool shot of it, but I couldn't like freeze it. Again, very nitpicky thing, but yeah, no, I liked stuff like that because it actually reminded me a lot of, and I feel like I'm always referencing Jak and Daxter, but again, like older games, like the scene in Jak and Daxter where you're on like the zoomer and you're like killing the plants. They have like an inverted version of that where you're like going over soil and growing plants, and I don't know, I like stuff like that.
I liked it too.
It's charming to me, so I enjoyed it.
It felt really bad though. I'm with Barrett that the control scheme of it,
it's so
honestly kind of hated, and it's such
you
a
use
weird.
It with like one stick, it's like the other stick. You're like using.
Andy was doing the mouse and keyboard, and so he had to like control it with the mouse and then use the keyboard to walk around.
No. I was joking about the mouse and keyboard thing because I definitely just played with my Xbox Elite controller.
Okay.
But the control scheme of like it. For
like
some reason, it
analog
just
to move it,
changes
right?
the way your character moves at all, and that was kind of frustrating.
You know it's clunky when the camera is constantly jittering just because of like the way you have to walk around and the way you control the creature. Like it was rough for me to control that. Granted, I'm only a third of the way through, so I don't.
It doesn't get better.
Yeah, well, for me, Barrett,
I'm not
I
asking
just
if it gets better, but like Blessing was saying, like he wasn't using it a whole lot, so I imagine just like. Because of the things that I've run into so far, I've just been using it more than average. So
for me, you have to train your mind to not control it the way you control anything else in the last 15 years, where it's right stick to rotate and then you just move straight or back, and then it's right stick. You never use them in conjunction with each other.
It's
because you're just gonna like
almost like
strafe
control-y, but like on a thumbstick, and it's so unintuitive and it's so weird. And it's one of the like just to get it out there because I don't think I've really said it. Like I do really enjoy the game. I was very skeptical about it, especially with like. The embargo time and like all this stuff, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then the more I've been playing it, I think I'm like 6 hours in, the more I've been adoring it, even though I have had frustrations here and there. yeah, that's just like one of the things where it's like one of the critiques that's gonna stay with me. That and like the two other things that I wanted to say is the hat stuff. I love collecting them. Why do I gotta buy them after I collect them? I think it's bullshit.
I have so much of that resource.
Why do I
but
have to go to that
simply find the
cart
rest of them.
as well?
Like,
You can
let
only
me
do it at the
go
cart,
to the
right?
menu and like if okay fine if you need me to like use this resource, this currency to buy all of them separate hats, fine, let me do it in the menu. Like having to find the cart is dumb. And also just like if I'm going through a tough like Andy was saying earlier, there's different like scenarios to like get these little hats for these little adorable dudes, right? And so like sometimes it's a fight, sometimes it's just like doing a world puzzle, right? But like if I'm going through like a really tough fight that takes me like 5 or 6 tries, I'm like hell yeah, and then I get that hat, I'm like all right, well I know I have to go buy it again, so it's just that, and then
why can't I change my loadout in Deathloop on the go? Like what the fuck, you know what I mean, guys? Come on.
There's an in-lore rule set of like why that makes sense. Anyway, the
The hat's also the same
the one thing that I was kind of going back and forth on, and I was talking to Andy about this, like when we had started playing over the weekend, is like at the beginning the cutscenes were rough, and I don't know if I just got used to them, like going from I've been playing on performance mode, so like going from 60 frames to like whatever they're doing like in the cutscenes, which is like either 24 or 30 frames per second, whatever they're trying to do. I don't know if I got used to it. We also just like I think we got a patch like yesterday or something. Maybe I got used to it, but I think it also maybe the performance might have improved from that patch, possibly. I don't know, but like I did get used to the cutscenes over time. So
if anybody is playing on PC, by the way, there's a bug if you're playing with ambient occlusion on the low setting. I don't know if that's an option on PlayStation, but if you have ambient occlusion on the low setting,
there are very few options here. Like you were talking about
performance mode
what to
and
do with
fidelity
people.
mode.
There's like the music, like how loud is the music? There's like subtitles.
On PlayStation, when you go on graphics, there's 2 options. There's gamma, and then there's the graphics mode, performance mode, fidelity, and those are the only 2 things.
Gotcha. Just in case anybody is planning on playing on PC, if you have ambient occlusion on low, the water flickers. The water has like this weird kind of like, it looks like it's glowing, and just set it to medium or any other setting you want, and it won't do that.
Well, I want to do a bunch of little rapid fire kind of quick questions because a whole bunch of people have them from Kana. But before we do that, of course, those people wrote in on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where you can too. Go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames to get, of course, yourself included on this show, to get the post show we do each and every episode, and of course, to get the show ad free. But guess what, Jack? You're not listening on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So let's talk about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Are you using the internet without ExpressVPN? If so, why? That's like checking your baggage at the airport without a lock. You think your stuff is private, but you never know who's gonna go through your underwear, and we don't want that. When you go online without a VPN, your ISP can see all your internet activity, and they can legally sell it to people who use your data to target you. But ExpressVPN encrypts and anonymizes your data, so your ISP can't see your activity. It's super easy to use. Literally, you just click one button. I've been using it. It's been keeping me safe. I feel way better just knowing that people aren't able to go in there, see what I'm doing and all that stuff. It's just no. Why are we doing that? You don't need to. ExpressVPN, baby. It also works on your router, and it can protect anyone that uses your network. You can secure your online activity by visiting expressvpn.com/kindafunny today. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny, and you'll get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/kindafunny. Next up, shout out to Upstart. If you're carrying a credit card balance month after month after month, it can sometimes feel like you're in a never-ending cycle of debt. But Upstart can help you make the final payment and get back on track. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan, all online, whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses. Over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment. Upstart helped one of my really good friends consolidate all of his loans, so he didn't really have any more debt. It was simple, it was dealt with, and now he's debt-free. Upstart knows that you are more than just your credit score, and that's why they're expanding access to affordable credit. They consider your income and current employment to find you a smarter loan rate. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use this URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined determined based on your credit, income, and other certain information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/kinda funny. And finally, shout out to DraftKings. The NFL season's gotten off to a great start, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in the action now. Just pick up your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. And you can feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, it's secure, it's reliable, and download the DraftKings app now and use code KindaFunny. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code KindaFunny to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code KindaFunny, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. There's a $5 minimum deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details with the code KindaFunny.
All right, so Andy, I just slacked you a photo, and I slacked it to Barrett too. If you want to toss that up, Barrett, this is it's not. You are not incorrect, Andy. You cannot use photo mode when you're sitting on the ground playing with your guys, right? But in photo mode, they have poses once you hit the action button that you can use, and so there's meditate, there's a sit, there's lean, there's meditate, kneel. So you can't be holding them like you are in the thing, but you do get the little guy on your shoulder, and you can get surrounded by your rod if you want with all their cool hats.
Yeah, fuck you, Andy. Yeah.
No, it's not a fuck you, Andy. Is correct.
Oh, I heard
He's
what you
not
said,
wrong.
Greg. You said fuck Andy.
Fuck Andy. All right, yeah. Let's start with Matt. These are kind of rapid fire, but if we want to stretch on them, go for it. Don't worry. Matthew Bermudez says, "Hey everybody, hope your day is going well. How's that platinum list looking?" The platinum list looks heartbreaking, ladies and gentlemen. I got this game. I started playing this game. I'm like, I'm enjoying this game. And I love getting all these rots because you're finding the rots and adding them, like kind of Pikmin, like we've talked about. We haven't really talked about the mechanic of they're off the beaten path a lot of times. You got to go over there, they move something around, they come out, you get them. The hats you're collecting, that's great. I was like, I'm going to get everything. This is awesome. And then after I got the feel for the game, I understood the rhythm of it. I was like, all right, now I'm not afraid to look at these trophies and get spoilers. And I went in there and it was literally from a little movie I know a lot of people haven't seen called Rogue One. I'm going and I get to that last trophy, and the last trophy is beat the game on master difficulty. And it was that you were this close to greatness. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, like this is like totally bricking it at the very end of like, no, I'm sorry, I don't enjoy your combat
That's bullshit.
to replay
That's
this
crazy.
on the hardest difficulty. No way. God,
Well, I mean, it is talk about old school design.
Yeah, totally.
Make you play on the hardest difficulty.
And again, that's what I
mm-hmm.
think I've been clear about it in my, as we've talked about this, right? Like the game's great. Like the game is beautiful and fun, and I totally get it. It's just one of those, like, this is a design choice that is clearly not a Greg Miller choice of like what I want to do in a game. Like I don't want to replay games most of the time, and I definitely don't want to replay them on the hardest difficulty when the combat isn't my thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like the combat, I was enjoyable enough, but as it gets more and more punishing, I was just like, I'm not really feeling this. I wish I was just collecting. I wish I was just platforming.
I'm with Janet to something she said way at the beginning of the podcast. I think this will be a top 10 for me as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's in my top
I'm that
10 as
impressed
well.
by it.
Wow.
I'm having that much fun with it.
It's in the later end of my top 10, I will say. Like I think by the end of the year, once I played more games, it might just figure it out.
Yeah.
But like right now, it is probably like my number 8 or 9.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know.
surprised by,
I'm just really impressed by it, and the whole like PS2 comparisons. I saw Roger's thumbnail, and I was like, please delete this. It's hurting my feelings because I thought it was a meme. I thought he was going for more of the joke.
No, that's just
I thought
I
thought it was just like a shitty joke. You know, sometimes when I post fake thumbnails and thumbnails just to get a little giggle out of y'all, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, ow, but damn, am I going to be the only one who likes this game? I was kind of worried. It's like,
Well, that weird thing is I don't think it's an insult. Like I don't, to say that it feels like a PS2 game. I'm not saying it looks like it. And I'm not saying it's like, as dated or anything like that. I just feel like we've talked about, I feel like that's the bones this is built on, which is a genre we don't, or not even a genre. Well, I guess a PS2 action
design choices
a genre
and things that we don't see as often as well.
Yeah.
Damn, can you imagine if Biomutant was this good though?
God, imagine.
Bro, Biomutant, why are you naming these like painful cuts? Like, are you reading from my like
Was
nightmare
Biomutant
diary?
really that painful? Were we really expecting a lot from that game? Let's be honest.
Okay,
No,
Barrett.
but like
we were expecting it to
Bro.
at least be like,
No.
Yeah,
Good.
that Biomutant is like one of the
You
worst
weren't.
games I've played, not just this year,
Come
but like
on,
in a
yeah,
long
Greg.
time. Like just the
You're with
pain.
me, buddy.
Nobody was
we
expecting.
had
So
to have a
much.
discussion about AA games and expectations.
Yeah, and
'Cause,
this, this was.
Bro, I played some good AA games. It's not like AA
yeah,
can't bring
there's
the
some
heat.
good
Like,
AA games out there.
And
I'm not saying
Kina, I would describe as
I'm
a
not
good
saying
AA
like
game.
AA games are inherently bad, and like this was one that like proved me wrong, especially with like how the release of like review embargo stuff was handled and stuff like that. Like I was very concerned of like, all right, this is going to be another AA game that comes out in the modern day era, and it's not going to be great. And then like the more I played, I was like, oh no, I'm being proven wrong, and I'm falling more in love with this game. There is room for that. Like this is a AA game in 2021, and it's fantastic. Yes. And I think people like who know that they were into these type of games in the PS2 era should like absolutely pick it up, especially for $40. I didn't know that was the price point, and yeah, I think that's a great price point for that. But then, yeah,
hold on, let's jump off of that, Ross. Sorry, just to get Matt Lawrence off the bench here from patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, who says, does the price point reflect the length of the game? I've been looking forward to this game since it was announced, but I've been worried it will be a case of style over substance. Is that the case here? Is the length of the game a good balance with the price?
I was surprised when I closed out my game after beating it, went over to the tab that tells you how long you've been playing, and it said 17 hours. I was like, oh shit.
But is that
I didn't
shit
realize,
ever right?
I mean,
I feel like mine is always inaccurate.
Uncharted 4 says that I've put 200 hours into it, which makes absolutely no sense. And then like, I think it was like Psychonauts 2, I apparently platinumed that game in 7 hours, which also makes absolutely no sense.
My game time is at 19 hours, but I
Andy,
definitely
nobody cares. You're on PC. All right, that's an accurate information from a PC.
The
We don't want
clock,
that.
No, like
I'm corroborating Blessings. I'm corroborating Blessings' claim.
You're gonna corroborate getting kicked in the head by me.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a Kena Bridge Experience review. Kena is the most gentle game, and we're bringing a specific energy.
Are you kidding?
It's not the most gentle game. Blessing, you talked about how it's not gentle.
In presentation,
yes,
it's beautiful.
Yes,
it's cute.
Yes.
It's Pixar-y. But like, I mean, for the most part, my PS5 clock seems to be pretty accurate more than not. And I will say, like, I let the game idle for probably like an hour or so. So like, bump that down to maybe 15-ish hours. But even still, like, it did feel like that. And I was surprised just to see that, like, oh shit, this is a full length game. In fact, this is longer than I expected, because I expected 8-ish hours for the kind of game it is. For the fact that it's like 15 hours, and I didn't do a lot of the side stuff. I did a lot of mainlining, and there's still stuff left for me that I can go collect more rot. I can go find more mail, which I still don't totally understand. There's like pieces of mail you can find, and you can deliver spirit mail, which is a cool thing.
It's like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, help them move on.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
It even looks like the lost items in Animal Crossing. It's like a little
I just thought it was mad random. I was like, I'm playing this game about being a spirit guide, and all of a sudden they're like spirit mail, and I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to deliver mail.
But the thing I love about that is like it shows you exactly where to deliver it, and I was worried that I was gonna have to look all over the damn place. It's like, oh, it's right there on the map. Let me go deliver it. It's really great and awesome. But yeah, I put in 19 hours. I think it's closer to like 17 and a half with how much I just let it idle, and I was also playing while watching the Cowboys play yesterday. So I barely was playing it at that moment.
For Matt's question, 9.5 at least.
I do think it's worth it. And again, I did play on PC. Kind of funny. Epic code is kind of funny. We are sponsored, Greg. So shut the fuck up. Quit making that face.
Well, I mean, we're not sponsored by Kena, you know what I mean? Epic Games works. If the best thing about the Epic Games creator code thing, which is of course that if you play Fortnite on your PlayStation like a real person, you can use the code there, Andy. All right, don't worry. But to Matt's question about does the price point reflect the length of the game? I say no. I think it reflects the scope of the game, which again, I think speaks back to what Tim was talking about before he left, right? Of the fact that based on how the game looks, which I think there is no greater compliment, we're comparing it to all these other AAA first-party exclusives, right? Of God of War or Ratchet or whatever you want to throw in there. And I think it's more the fact that, again, I don't use the PlayStation 2 comparison as this game fucking sucks, right? I'm saying I think that puts it into the realm of what the scope of it is and what you're doing. And this, all right, you're playing, cutscene, you watch for a while. All right, now you're playing, cutscene, bosses. Like you get the rhythm going, and I don't think it does the huge breakout. You go in a million different directions. It's this crazy open world. It's whatever. No, it's a linear adventure you're going through and getting the story and having these cool boss fights in, or just fights in general, while also exploring and using mechanics and cool ways to reform bridges or do whatever. Dylan Knight writes in patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, says, hey, y'all. This is for the potential Kena Bridge of Spirits review. How does the haptic feedback feel during gameplay? And have they integrated and used the new PS5 features in any fun and interesting ways? Starting at the end, I think we covered a little bit with Game Help. But Blessing, what did you think of haptic feedback and all that jazz?
I mean, they used it in a way that I never would have imagined. You know, like there's a bow and arrow weapon that you have in this game, and when you press R2 to pull back on your bow, like it
you can feel
feels like
you
you're
can feel the
pulling back a
tension.
bow. There's
Dude,
tension you can feel in the R2. No, yeah, it's done the way
you actually shot a bow. I feel like we always say, "Oh, it feels like I'm pulling back a bow."
Actually,
I don't fucking know what that feels like.
PE class, St. Francis High School. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, church camp freshman
so
year.
y'all have funding. All right, funding flex. All right.
Yeah, Greg went to one of the schools. But yeah, like they use it in that way, and I do like. There's a certain sound that the trigger makes. Like you have that. I don't know, the squeeze.
It's like a creaky. Well, I think the haptic. It's kind of that thing where like the sound design really gets married with haptics in a way that makes it feel a lot more immersive. It kind of reminds me of like Astro's Playroom did, or Astro's. God, what was it? Was it
you got it
Playroom?
right? Astro's
you
Playroom.
got it.
Astro's Playroom did a lot of that, where like part of it was the haptics, but part of it was just like brilliant sound design that tricks your brain into feeling like, oh, it's rain or it's whatever. And I think Kena does that too.
Next question comes from Silent Ninja. What's up, kind of funny? How are the accessibility options? That's what he writes. They're non-existent. Like, you know, we always obviously want to have like Steve Saylor on or something like that if he's going to talk about it. And I know we've talked so much with him about accessibility, whether it be on PS I Love You, whether it be on Kind of Funny Games Daily or Gamescast. And I can say, even without consulting him, no. Right, you're going to game, and it's the difficulty. If you want to auto hide the HUD, button location, follow cam, controls are just controls. There is control remapping, which I know a lot of people
control
want,
remapping, and then also subtitles.
Yeah, but subtitles even
small.
there, right? Subtitles.
Yeah, they're
are
small.
Yeah, they're doing the basics there. Of, hey, there's subtitles, or there's not. There's not the put in a character's name, change the colors, make them larger, any of that stuff. And
maybe the second game, let's get that budget kicked up a little bit.
You have to remind yourself that this is a small team as well. And
totally. I know.
And maybe there will be updates in the future where they try to like update some of these features. I think that they're just trying to get what they could out, you know.
Yeah, I also think small teams have the space to do it well too. Like Celeste is also a small game, and they innovated like how we look at assist mode and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like I guess that's a little unfortunate in the sense that, you know, and I hope everyone tries this game out. I feel like it's challenging, like if, you know, you're capable of doing so. Like I feel like it is challenging, but like not too grueling. But at the same time, if it did have even a more nuanced like difficulty, that would really open things up. Because I feel like even the easy might be like it just really recharges and like the enemies are a little less aggressive. Like it's still there's a lot of multitasking in the combat, which I think might be a lot for some people.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see accessibility review come up.
Sorry, I was talking more along the lines of like colorblind options and the links that Naughty Dog does.
Sure.
I hadn't even thought about difficulty. My bad.
You're forgiven, but stop talking about PlayStation PC stuff. All right, just talk about PlayStation.
Yeah,
Don't talk about PC stuff. All right. Actually, you know what? Here,
PlayStation.
get a hammer. Yeah, get a hammer. Smash your PC. All right.
No,
don't worry.
He's got like he uses that PC for work, Greg.
Didn't we buy him that PC?
Yeah, but don't forget, like, you know.
No, I got this shit for free, dog.
PlayStation is invested in Discord, so it'll be soon enough before we can all just get rid of our PCs and do the shows through PlayStation. That'd be great.
Do PlayStation.
We can talk about this
look,
one, but
I have the more powerful machine. Obviously it costs like 9 times more, but still, you know.
It sure was worth it to be able to go through and change each one of your ROTS colors individually.
Hell yeah.
What a waste of money. Mark H has this question. We kind of talked about it. Is there photo mode? Yes. What are the features? And do you want to see them? Are you happy with the photo mode? Photo mode, there's one trophy assigned to it. So that's when I used it. And I never came back to it because I feel like the game's so beautiful overall. Usually for a photo mode, it's usually me like, oh my God, the composition here, this, that, or there. Like the cutscenes I thought were so gorgeous and stuff. I never really went and screwed around. Did anybody really screw around with it and like use it?
Not too much.
No.
Yeah,
I never felt like I should have. But also, I do want to shout out how gorgeous this game is. Like we've mentioned it here and there, but I really do want to focus on like, yo, this game looks magnificent. The way the way it looks in trailers and stuff, like it looks like that in game. You know, like the actual cutscenes themselves, the pre-rendered ones look ridiculous fidelity wise in a good way. Like they look a good ridiculous. The frame rate comes down on the pre-rendered cutscenes a little bit compared to the actual gameplay. But even the actual gameplay, there are moments where I panned up, saw like a village in the distance, and was just like, how the fuck does this game look this good? Like I think they really achieved something with how good this game looks. And so there's plenty, if you are into photo mode, there's plenty to like gaze at and capture and stuff in here.
I really enjoyed the I had already mentioned it, but I loved the real-time cutscenes because of the crispiness, and I'm running at 120 frames, and it looks better than the 30 frames that you see in like cinematic cutscenes or whatever. Don't ever roll your eyes at me ever once again, Greg Miller. But yeah, this is Unreal Engine 4 like working at max power. Like they are making this shit look really good, and lighting wise, I was often blown away whenever you're in a darker environment and you find a spirit and this gold little light trails through the world and it's lighting up everything around it. It looks so goddamn good. It's pretty breathtaking.
Final question I want to have here comes from Noah. Noah wrote into patreon.com/kindafunnygames and says, "Hey, Kinda Funny crew. My question is this. After playing Kana, does this make you excited for future Ember Lab games or not?" Janet?
Sorry, what was that?
Does this game make you excited for future Ember Lab games?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a great first project. Again, other than the weak start and like the platforming pettiness of not grabbing like the ledge and having to be a little precise.
Pettiness, I like that.
Yes, the platform pettiness. It was rough. But other than that, like I think it's just like such a strong start. I would never have guessed this is the studio's first project having played this. Like I think the biggest drawback of Kina is, I guess, a little bit of like, I don't want to say lack of ambition because I think it pulls off a lot of things really well, but it's just not quite intriguing. I think the way it puts together parts and it iterates doesn't quite feel new enough compared to like what we've just seen before in the genre. And then I think that's why we keep referencing like the PS2 design elements and all of that. But yeah, I absolutely want to see more projects from them. I like, when I was playing this, I was thinking of it in terms of like other PlayStation indies that have sort of garnered attention over the last few years, things like Concrete Genie, things like The Pathless, and I ranked this like well above either of those. And those are like good projects. Like I enjoyed them to varying degrees. The Pathless a bit more than Concrete Genie, but like this feels like a real big step above those, which is no like shade to those games. It's more of a compliment to this one. Like it's really on a higher level than I was anticipating. And yeah, I can't wait to see more from the studio.
Wes?
Yeah, no, I'm for sure looking forward to whatever they do next. Part of me wants them to make Kana 2 because I think there's so much to build off of from here. I want to see like more bosses in this world. I want to see more characters in this style. And I think once you establish a game or a project that has such a good, I think, base like this, where the world is good, the story or the world is interesting and has stuff that you can build off of, I think you want to keep building off of it and make something that is going to elevate that. And so I would like to see them elevate that. But regardless of whether they do Kana 2 or do something brand new, I'm for sure down for whatever they do next, because I think from here they can only get better, and I want to see them continue to get better.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even for me being like, all right, cool. By the time I roll credits, I'm like, all right, cool. This might not have been a game for me all the way through. I think when you look at them, I hope they do a Kana 2. I hope that's what they go and do. And I hope that it is, they take in all this feedback and maybe open up the world a bit more, maybe give it a little bit more exploration, maybe balance out combat a little bit. I'd be super down for that. I'd be super excited for them to take all that feedback they had and do it. Andy, final thought.
Yeah, 100%. When it comes to the scope of this game, I often found myself kind of blown away by the level of scope when I'm climbing a gigantic tree and I'm super high up and I'm looking all around at this area that I just explored. It's a much bigger game than I expected. And let's get some DLC rolling too. Like, why do we got to wait for part 2? Let's get a little side campaign. I don't necessarily know if I want to see them open it up more and it be more open world. I feel like that could take away a bit from the storytelling that I think that makes them really strong. I think they love having an animation team making these cutscenes, and sometimes that doesn't marry so well with an open world where you could just kind of fuck around with everything. But sure. I do think a logical next step would be the physics type stuff that we see in Breath of the Wild.
Sure.
There's a lot of different ways that they can go about it, but I'm absolutely excited for it.
All right. We got the book closed on Kana. Anybody else got anything to say?
Yeah.
One thing.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, everybody does. Jesus.
Hold on. Barry, you can go ahead.
Just talking about are we excited for the future? Of course I am, and it relates back to the point I was trying to get to earlier with the whole AA conversation and our expectations of them before we come out. And even though I'm really enjoying this, and this it'll be a contender to be on my top 10, whether it makes it there is still yet to be seen. But there was still I don't know if there should have been an expectation before this game. I don't think there should have been an expectation before Biomutant and other games of this kind of level of ilk have come out. But now that we have played it and seen what Ember Labs can do, I think they are a studio that's going to have, I think, a bright future, and look back at this first project and kind of see what they can improve on and what they can do moving forward. And I'm excited to see where they go with it, whether it is a Kena 2 or a more of a spiritual successor, a game that's similar in design but a completely different world and stuff
spiritual.
like that. We'll see. I'm excited either way though, and I'm really impressed by this game, and I'm excited to eventually beat it.
Okay, Janet, you good?
Yeah, I actually have a similar comment, but on sort of a different side of the coin, but it's the same conclusion, which is that both of us like this game and think it's a good game that people should play. But for me, and I know some people might disagree with this, philosophically on how criticism should be done, but I hold every game exactly the same. You got a team of 300 people, you got a team of one person. I'm gonna say if it's good or not, and I don't care how broke you were, how rich you were, whatever, because I've seen some of my favorite games ever have been made by one person, and some of them have been made by teams of hundreds. So, and the way I see it, either way, it's attention and time that you're spending. The money, I don't know, maybe if someone gifts you the game, is a bad game now worth playing? For me, I always just go back to, is it worth your time? And I think, I don't care, $40, $70 for this, you get it free. Who made it? First project, 8th project. This is a good game, and I hold it to the same standard that I've hold every game I play this year. I go in every game expecting or hoping that it'll be a good, solid project. I'm not grading this on a curve when I say that this is potentially in my top 10, that it might be. I don't know what's going to shake out at the end of the year, but this is how struggling I feel about it. So I just really want to voice that, I'm not being nice to this game or handling it with kid gloves because it's an indie studio. I genuinely think it's really good. Does it have flaws? Sure, most things do, but I really enjoyed it, and I hope if you guys take the time to pick it up that you do as well.
Excellent. Blessing. Well, first off, Andy, you want to bounce? You got other things to do today?
Yeah, sure.
No, you can hang out. I'm happy to have you.
The show's gonna keep going. What the fuck?
Yeah, wow. We got PlayStation
we got
updates.
8 more segments.
No, we're not doing all these things. You guys keep trying to tack on this last one. I don't know why.
Keep trying to cut the segments, Greg. I'm gonna give the people what they want. We're gonna do PS I Love photo mode.
God damn it!
And
What are the
spoilers,
PlayStation updates?
The show is already so long, Blessing.
Y'all have
I
fun.
don't care. They love a 2.5 hour podcast. You're welcome, everybody. Wait, it's me. We're doing the PlayStation.
Yeah,
What's up? Welcome to PlayStation Updates. Your greatest hits of PlayStation news for the week. I only have one for you. We can make it a quick one. I posed the question: what story should God of War and/or Cory Barlog tell next? Reason why I posed that question is because on PlayStation Lifestyle, Zarmina Khan has an article called "God of War North Saga is ending in 2 games because devs don't want to spend 15 years telling a story." God of War 2018 director Cory Barlog has said that Santa Monica Studio chose to end the North Saga in 2 games because it takes roughly 5 years to make one game, and the team didn't want to spend 15 years telling a story. In an interview with YouTube channel Captain Cuba, Barlog said that given lengthy development times, stretching a story out to 15 years is too much. He wants players to be able to pick up the 2018 title as well as Ragnarok and get the entire Norse experience. Barlog also said that it was his decision to condense it all into 2 games. I take that article and combine it with a question from Cosmic Yeah, who wrote into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames just like you can, and says, what is Cory Barlog doing next? Sid Schumann knows and wanted to tease us by getting Cory to say he wouldn't say. My dream guess would be God of War VR or God of War VR for a PSVR 2 launch. First-person Chains of Olympus action would be incredible. And so I pose the question to you, Greg and Janet. What's next for God of War and/or for Cory Barlog?
The VR thing would be kind of really disgusting. I'm just picturing how brutal that game
everywhere.
is. It's literally. Oh my gosh.
It's blood and limbs.
I don't know. I mean,
everywhere.
I would love to see. I always want new stuff, so I feel like something that I haven't seen yet, like a brand new IP. But if anything, maybe there was I think when we looked at that article from Game Informer about Naughty Dog and the history of Naughty Dog and the idea of cross-studio collaboration, like I'd honestly like to see like Cory kind of dip around at other places within PlayStation, maybe take on like an advisement role there. Like he seems really passionate about, I'm not going to do this forever, / I can't do this forever, / maybe I don't want to do it forever. And I want to pass on, you know, my knowledge and my expertise onto other people. And it's time for other people to sort of rise up. Like that seems like a really big passion point for him. So that's sort of what I could kind of imagine and what I hope he ends up doing. Of course, obviously, I hope he just ends up doing whatever he's most passionate about. But I think that'd work really well for him and the team at large.
Yeah, I don't want to see him do VR. Unless he wants to, but that wouldn't be my thing. God of War VR, I'm not feeling. I don't need that right now. I would want to see Cory tackle something new. I would want to see Santa Monica do something new, right? Like I know obviously they had been trying to do that before a whole round of layoffs. This is years ago now. But now that they're back and established and people understand the talent that is there, I don't want to see them get pigeonholed and just be the God of War studio. And so if Cory was going to tell a different story and it was, I would say, tell a smaller story, I think that could be really interesting, right? If that's what he's working on. What they talked about being in pre-pro on whatever it was, and Sid was joking around about it. Like I could see that being an interesting take, that being something cool to see something out of Santa Monica faster and again different. Like Santa Monica is a team that is filled with people who've been there forever. And granted, there's plenty of new people too. This Alana Pierce character, I don't know. But like if people who've been there forever probably want to do something and want to stretch their legs and don't want it. I mean, it's the whole point of what they're talking about here with the Norse Saga ending, right? Of like, if you're going to do a trilogy, is it going to take you 15 years to finish this story? Like nobody wants that. They want to be able to create, share, and go.
Yeah.
Bless,
I like the idea of them having something that is a second major franchise that they can have alongside of God of War, in the way that Naughty Dog has had Last of Us and Uncharted, and in the way that Insomniac has Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank, and now they're going to have Wolverine. I would like to see Sony Santa Monica have something they can ping pong back and forth from, to where now that Ragnarok is out, maybe the next game from Sony Santa Monica is a new IP or something wholly original that holds us over until the next God of War reboot. You know, I think that could be a promising thing. And so I hope that might be what he's working on. You know, of course, like the VR suggestion I think is interesting. I forget if this is a report or a rumor, but I believe word has been that PlayStation for VR is aiming to do like more so VR modes in other games. And so like, you know, you'll get this is a bad example because this isn't gonna happen, but like if Insomniac makes the next Resistance game, that would have a VR mode theoretically, right? That'll carry forward and that'll help sell that platform, as opposed to them creating something from the ground up and taking away resources from being able to make something that is core to the platform and not VR necessarily. And of course, you want to mix and match that, right? You do want to have stuff that is original for VR. Hopefully, we get something that is like a Blood and Truth 2 or something from London Studio that helps that platform shine along from other studios. But you know, I don't think God of War Ragnarok is going to be the kind of game that you can take and just put in VR. You got to make something that's built from the ground up. And I don't really want to play as Kratos in VR. I feel like that would be a weird one, right?
It's like, scary, right?
First person as I don't want to be Kratos. Man's a monster.
So then, so moving away from Cory specifically, where would you want to see them go after this? What other gods?
God of War?
What's Kratos going to go kill, or Atreus going to go kill?
I mean, there's Egyptian mythology
that seems like a cool one.
It's a natural progression.
Christianity, man. Let's go fight Jesus.
I was gonna say we can have.
We can
square
up with the Lord. Let's do it.
Yeah, you can square up with the Lord. Yeah, I think that's another option.
Finally put this Catholicism to work. I can finally like dig into the lore. Like everyone's been all like knowledgeable on these other things. I'm like, no, let's finally put like all these catechism classes to work.
Might be controversial, but...
Imagine the fight with John the Baptist in the river. Just like you know what I mean? Like Kratos is holding him underwater. Bubbles. I'm
like, did y'all see that painting of the Last Supper in the background of the trailer? Like y'all ain't catch it. Y'all ain't know. Y'all sleeping.
Jesus is like standing on the water in a fighting stance. It's wild. But yeah, like I think that's an option. I mean, the Egyptian mythology is an option. Maybe not the Christianity stuff as much. But outside of that, I mean, maybe a return to Greek mythology. I know that might not be as exciting for people as a new and fresh take, but could be exciting as oh shit, we're returning. Like this is a big comeback. Like we're going back and we're fighting the gods that we fought in the old games, and it's like this come full circle kind of thing.
Do you think it's a foregone slam dunk that they'll finish God of War 2? And then there will be a God of War, whatever they're going to call it, next 3 immediately? Do you think it is going to be that? Obviously, whatever Cory's working on doesn't sound... I don't know. Maybe I'm extrapolating too much. It doesn't sound like God of War. But like, do you think that then the next project's God of War? Or do you think they actually take some time off?
I think you get God of War Ragnarok. You do a game that's not God of War after that, which I imagine is what Cory's working on. and then you return to God of War, because God of War is one of those IPs that I don't think Sony wants to sleep.
It's always going to come back. It's always going to come back around, right?
Like the IP is just way too strong, and people just want it too much that people are going to keep coming back to it. But I do think that you do something fresh and new between Ragnarok and whatever the next God of War is.
Cool.
Anybody, anything else for God of War? Do you want to hop into the PlayStation picks? Let's hop into the PlayStation picks. Of course, this is where we highlight a few of the cool-looking games coming to PSN this week, starting with the big hitters. World War Z Aftermath is coming to PS5 and PS4 on Tuesday, September 21st, and we're streaming it this Thursday, so get hyped for that. Mech Warrior 5 Mercenaries is coming to PS5 and PS4 on Thursday, September 23rd. Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming to PS5 Friday, September 24th. And then Lost Judgment is coming to PS5 and PS4 on Friday, September 24th. I keep trying to get back to that game. What's up, Greg Miller?
My question is this. Do you guys feel that, is it a personal thing from us, or is there just less buzz about Death Stranding Director's Cut than compared to Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut? Did Iki Island really push Tsushima to be a different beast where I think people were actually talking about it? Do you think that game was more popular? I feel like Death Stranding has been that one of like, oh, that's coming up. Oh, that's coming up. And now it's this week, and I really don't feel like I'm getting a push of like,
I think in our circles, I see that as the case because no one's talking about it. But I have seen it like, there's a lot of like PlayStation like fans on Twitter who are like super ready for it.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think the thing is how mysterious it is. Like, it's hard to get excited for it because it's like, what's in here? Like, you know, the racetrack and like some of the stuff they did talk about, but it's like, it's weirdly like melded with everything else. At least like that's the pitch. So I feel like versus Iki Island was very much like, here's how you get there, and like if you already beat it, it's this. And it was a lot more like laid out, while this was a little more cryptic.
Yeah, and I think Iki Island really took it to the next level. At that, plus I think Ghost of Tsushima probably is more popular than Death Stranding in terms of people showing up for it and it being more of a simple open world action game that is easy to hop back into. I think Death Stranding, there's that thing in our hearts where so much of us say we want to get back into Death Stranding, but it's like, do I really want to get back and walk across America? You know, like, does that sound desirable for me to do right now? I feel like you got to prep yourself more to do that. But then also, I think Iki Island as a DLC pack was a marketable thing where we were like,
sure,
is that going to be 10 hours? Is that going to be a whole story expansion? Is that going to be Miles Morales? Is that just going to be a DLC pack that lasts a couple of hours? Turned out to be that last part. But I think having Iki Island as a thing to sell created more hype for it than Death Stranding, which is a little bit more murky in terms of, all right, they're adding in way more mechanics, but then also there's that weird tease at the end of one of the trailers that had like the whale thing, and like there's no more Monster Energy drink. Like, what is Death Stranding Director's Cut exactly? And I think maybe after it comes out, people have a lot more answers to those questions. But you know, it's a slow. I think it'll be a slower burn than Director's Cut for Ghost of Tsushima, possibly. As far as our PlayStation pick for the week, we just got one. Ember is coming to PS4 on Thursday, September 23rd. Fight fires for fun and profit in this unpredictable and frantic multiplayer game. Team up with friends, take on daily challenges, and climb to the top of the corporate firefighting ladder. More than one way to become a hero. This looks like one of them. I was gonna compare it to like an Overcooked, but maybe that's not a good comparison because you have 4 different like screens that you're looking at, right? You can play online with friends, or if it's local, it does look like it's split screen multiplayer. It's first person and you're putting out a fire. Looks interesting. Looks like a fun let's play game.
It looks like a job simulator, right? It looks like, and I know it's not VR, but it looks like one of those things that's how I would feel it would run around and do. Like, it's one of those goofy games, right? Where the shenanigans and the crazy things you're doing and the physics and whatever, that's going to be part of the puzzle.
The Jabroni boys would stream, you know?
It is something the Jabroni boys on Twitch.tv/KindaFunny would stream.
Yeah, it might be a good halfway point between a job simulator and a Operation Tango, possibly. I don't know how co-op this is, but it looks like, watching the trailer, it looks like they're getting into some very goofy scenarios here. And so it'd be one that might be fun to try out with friends, or if you stream, might be fun to play on stream. But that's it for PlayStation picks.
You play stuff on stream all the time, and that's why right now I want to know what you've been playing.
I have been playing Deathloop. One of the few times I rolled credits, and then I didn't roll. Like, normally I'm like, when the credits roll, I roll. I'm out. We're done. We're almost always done. I might even mess around, delete it off the console because I don't got that much memory. But my boyfriend started playing his like own playthrough of it, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I had him on my stream, and I was like talking to my community about the game and like seeing what his first reaction is, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump in as Juliana into your game once you like unlock that part. And for context, again, I've said it a couple times, I'm not really into the shooty shoots. I'm not coordinated and I crack under pressure. You can already see where this story is going. Versus my boyfriend has much more of a shooter background. Like he can like play like more competitive games. So I'm like, oh my God, like it's hilarious going in as Juliana, but you're the one that's scared. I'm like, I'm supposed to be like, she's on the hunt. I'm like, I'm on the lurk. I'm on the wait and watch. I'm on the put the mines down. Like I am not on the hunt. I'm on the masqueraded as an NPC. I set up an elaborate trap only for him to accidentally enter through the back door and kill me without realizing. Nice. Like that's been my route so far. I've yet to get a kill in or a win in. I did get like a technicality win where like I did a good amount of damage and he did end up like dying because he got caught up on stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put that in the W category. Sure. I went to bed happy that night. Was it a whack win? Was it like when I played baseball when I was 9 and I got that game-winning bunt? Yeah, but did we win the game? Yeah. Hell yeah! Did we put it on the board? Yes, it's a W. It's a W. I was happy. He was low-key salty. That's all I wanted.
I had a similar experience where this clown Merc City 64 invaded my game thinking he was all that, and I got to win problem. And it's like, I would have liked to have killed him. But I was trying to do something for a trophy, so I just got
To be
out
clear, you got to win because you're in and out in like 2 seconds. I didn't even have time to even set up. I joined Greg's game.
Janet, is a W a W?
I set up the traps.
W. I'm sorry, Blessing.
I waited for a minute.
If I had questions about what an L is, I'd ask you, Blessing, but I'm asking a winner like Janet.
Greg jumped in the district for a trophy and then bounced out so quick.
Hey man, you wanted to come in there acting like you're a tough guy. You're gonna come in and invade my game. I didn't ask for that.
Maybe try and kill a visionary. I was gonna say missionary. Don't kill a missionary.
There's a lot of other things going on, but I did have a lot of fun with it though. Like I don't do like a lot of online stuff in general, and I really did enjoy at least trying to strategize. Again, was I successful? I feel like I'm on the uphill, like I'm on the up curve or whatever that phrase would be. Like upswing. I think I'm slowly learning like. What does it mean to play as Juliana? I did tweet out like, yo, y'all, how can I kill my boyfriend in this game? Or in real life, like, what do I gotta do? Let me know. I'm like, don't read these. Block me on Twitter, like block you and read these tips and try to figure it out. And, as you go, you do like gain sort of, not XP exactly, but you get like more abilities and more weapons and stuff. Yeah. So like a lot of people recommended that I use a weapon that has slowdown. And then like, so I'm trying to implement those things. And if nothing else, even though I usually don't come out with a W, I do at least ruin his time. He's like, this is actually very stressful for me. Like, playing and knowing you're waiting in the shadows. And I'm like, oh, well, you're not having fun? Because like, I'm having a good time, but like, maybe if you're not, we could just not do it. He's like, no, it's fun, but like, it's really intense. And I'm like, I know, right? We had like the multi-screen setup in the living room. Like no one's hardwired in, so it's laggy as hell. Like it's been a good time.
Dude, I've been playing a lot of Deathloop Juliana too. And after playing this last week as Juliana, I think I'm ready to say that Deathloop is probably my game of the year. It is such a good time.
You're out here talking smack on twitter.com being like, oh, chicory game. I'm like, Chickory's not even your game of the year, bro. Like, what are you talking about? You
that was just to troll you. Like,
yeah, you're always just to troll me. How do I know this is real?
When can you be trusted? Everybody. All right, you don't get the trolls exclusively. How do I know
where we are now?
But no, like playing as Juliana has been such a fun thing, and I didn't expect it because usually for invasion stuff in games like that, I'll try it out once or twice and I'll pop out and like I'll get my fill very quickly because there's not really I feel like usually there's not really much there. There's not really much reason to invade a friend, right? Like in fact, even in Deathloop, it was kind of a slow start for me because you get in and I'm like, cool, now how do I find the person that I'm invading? Where in the hell are they in the map? And Deathloop, I think, does a good job of giving you enough tools to where you have a couple of different options for how you're going to invade somebody. And so in the tool set that I have now, I have an ability that turns my grenades into tracking devices as opposed to things that inflict damage, right? So now if they run into my grenade, boom, they appear on my map, on my like as a waypoint type of situation.
That's cool.
And so like as soon as I get in, I'm immediately like, cool, I'm gonna place a bunch of mines just around the antenna. So if they come through, they'll activate the mine and I'll know exactly where they're at. And then as I do that, I'm like, cool, where is the visionary? All right, like, are they after the visionary? The game does a pretty good job of usually whatever visionary is on the map, they're talking over intercom. And I think that I didn't realize until I started invading as Juliana is that is very much a tool for Juliana to know where Colt is at. Because there was one game where I was playing with, I believe it was Yusef, I was invading his game. And I was just hanging around the antenna, just like camping on the antenna, waiting for him to come through. And then all of a sudden I hear, I believe it was Carl or somebody, talk over the intercom and be like, "Oh, Colt's here," and I was like, "Oh, Colt's over there. I got to go get him. I got to go intercept Yusef." And it's this cool thing to, if you're acting crazy in the area of a visionary, usually as Juliana, that is a key for you to know, oh, okay, I got to go over there and check that out. But yeah, I've been having a blast doing it. It's been fun just going through my friends list, invading people that happen to be online, and I'm shocked by how much fun I'm having with it. And I don't see any I don't see myself stopping anytime soon in terms of going back and booting up Deathloop once or twice a day just to invade a few people and have fun. And the more I play, the more I'm like, wow, this game continues to be impressive just in terms of the different kinds of qualities I can get with your guns. There's one gun that I didn't even realize existed and I don't know how I missed it because it seems like a lot of people have this gun, but it's the one that is a dual wield pistol that you can combine into a submachine gun.
Yeah, turn the machine gun.
What?
Yeah, and I didn't.
It's one of the Arsenal rewards. You start out. It's like almost like an Iron Man orange or red like thing.
Is that one of the ones that you get from one of the visionaries?
No, it's an Arsenal.
No,
it's one of the Arsenal quests. Yeah.
Well, there is a visionary that I do believe also has an Arsenal quest. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like this one is one of the Arsenal leads I just never ran into. And I found the gun as Juliana, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool gun. And the more you play as Juliana, the more you just naturally unlock weapons. And I've been doing the thing where I'll get the same gun over and over again, but each of the guns have different qualities to them. And so like, and one of the ones I got is if you do damage in one mode, it buffs the other mode, and so you can kind of go back and forth and keep buffing damage back and forth via the two modes for the guns. And honestly, it's been one of those things where the more I play Deathloop, the more the game kind of turns around some of the criticisms I had of the game and goes, actually no, we did have an answer for that. Because one of my criticisms was, I wish there was more to the weapons. Like halfway through the game, I felt like I unlocked all I needed to, and the more I play as Juliana, the more I'm like, oh shit, no, these weapons go way deeper than I thought. Like you can find, like if you look a little bit deeper and play a little bit slower, you can find a few more weapons, and you can continue to unlock the same weapon and build on whatever that quality or property for that weapon was. And so like that has made me appreciate the game more. And again, the more I play as Juliana, the more I appreciate the level design even more. The game continues to get better even after I've beaten it. And so I adore Deathloop the more and more I play it.
Yeah,
I think too to that. Sorry, to that point, I was just gonna say, like with the way the weapons are, because I had the same criticism that you had, and I think what's been fun about Juliana is just that slightly fresh perspective, because now it's not about like my own adventure and like Juliana's just either a computer or a person to kill that's getting in my way, but it's also like thinking about, like, especially since I'm only invading my boyfriend's game, I'm getting to know his play style, or like I can, sometimes see what he's doing in a single player campaign. And I'm like, okay, mental note, even though, is that cheating? Whatever. It's not real. It's fine. It's all for fun. But he has that gun that has the the gas that comes out of it or whatever, like the gas bomb explodes. And I saw a buff for like any character can have it, but I put a buff on Juliana where I'm like, okay, that gives me health now, because if you're gonna try that, I'm like, come through with the gas gun and I'm just gonna soak it up and I'm just gonna use it to heal. So I like how they can kind of be in conversation with the other components of the buffs that you have available.
Well, you figure that plays so well into the narrative of the game, right? That Juliana and Colt have been doing this endlessly. So yeah, to go and be like, it's that thing of, is that cheating? I've wondered that as I invade people's games, because it's especially on like when it was, the first week of launch, right? Of invading and being like, oh, what do they do? Okay, I know where they're trying to get to. Like I've played this map and this mission however many times, right? Like I know where the visionary is. I know what the best way to approach is, and I know where you probably are gonna have to cross. And you go and do that, and it's like, it is that thing of like, but it's also like, well, no, like it's just I'm living the game, right? Of like, I've been here forever. I've done this so much, and I know what's going on. And I'm the same way. I'm going back and playing it, but I'm not doing online. I'm doing a platinum run on it, right? Where I had thought about it, and I was like, I probably never will. And then it's been that like such a comfort food to come back to at night. Of all right, cool, like, I'm just going to focus on this one trophy, right? I'm just going to go after this one vision. I'm just going to go get every gun, or I think I'm missing this or that. And like running around and doing those very specific things and playing the game in a very different way than what I was playing the game when I was playing the game and trying to advance, whatever quest I was on or finish it. That was one thing. Now going for this trophy again, it's such an expertly designed trophy list of actually getting you to do and play and get something different out of the game after the credits roll. And so, yeah, I had to stop for Kana. With that done, now I'm back to it. And, I'm at 72% right now. And I've been whittling it down to just killing the visionaries in the very specific way. So I'm going to keep doing that so I can just go through and get them at the very end. But I'm having a great time with it. I can't believe how much I love Deathloop.
Yeah, it's such a good game.
Yeah. Janet, what else have you been playing?
I finally beat Death's Door, so I'm trying to chip away at like, yay! Hopefully, I hope that comes to PlayStation because I think it'd be such a fun platinum. Even though, God, I wish it had a map. But the combat's fantastic, incredible art design, challenging, satisfying. I loved it the entire time. Can't recommend that enough. So yeah, that's the last thing that I like finished off, and now I'm just kind of going down my list. I think, and now I'm trying to decide what my next like game that isn't like. I don't know. I guess like podcast content, right? It's not like, oh, like how Kina like just came out. So obviously I played through that. I'm gonna, I guess, beat that next for what I'm playing next. But I don't know if I want to finally go and finish up Ratchet and Clank or if I want to finally finish Hitman. So I'm trying to. I don't know if y'all have a recommendation on like what direction to steer myself in for this. I can try to pull up just Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, finish
Yeah, knock it out.
Yeah, I'm also doing True Colors too. I finished episode 2.
Never mind. Play True Colors.
Yeah.
Are you
Okay,
enjoying
hell
it? 'Cause
yeah,
I saw
yeah,
you made it. If you don't follow Janet on TikTok, you're missing out. Of course, Janet's great on every social media platform, but her TikTok is really good in terms of game shit. And when you're like, "Life is Strange" is like mac and cheese. I guess they ate without me or whatever. I was like, "Shit, this is great."
That was really good. That was really
Oh,
accurate.
thank you so much. Yeah, you know what? Let me do that because I think I'm pretty sure I'm gonna finish it. I don't see a world where I don't. And I don't know if y'all would be down to do a spoiler cast on it, but I think that'd be super fun. I always look because I actually don't have that many PlayStation friends. I have like 10 or something, and I don't think any of them are strange except for y'all. So I always look at like the friends' choices, and then I judge y'all, and I wonder who's who. So I think we should also like try to guess the decisions and stuff or something. Like start off with just that part,
Can
and
you
then
beat
go
it
back.
for next week, and then the second half of next week's show can be a spoiler cast?
I think I can. I think that should be due. I have to check because I'm playing with my brother, and I want to make sure he has time to like sit and do this play through with me. But I think so. I have 3 episodes left. I finished 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 3.
How many hours?
They're roughly
do you think
2
it
hours
is?
each, right?
Yeah, they're 2 hours each. Yeah, the game
Okay.
isn't that long, and so you probably have 6 hours left of gameplay.
Sure, I'll touch base with them and I'll let you know on Slack
Cool.
if I can.
I'm
I'm
Maybe
putting it
our
on
hashtag.
the thing. Everybody, if you're listening right now, beat Life is Strange 2 so you can watch the spoiler cast about it.
Got it.
And we can make that our hashtag.
I have 4
yes,
episodes.
we played this.
4 episodes left.
Go get him, Barrett. You're gonna Barrett. I was enjoying your tweets or text to me about it.
Yeah,
They're not gonna do this, are they? And I'm like, no, they're not. They're gonna do something worse.
Yeah,
and then you're like, why did they do this?
so upsetting what the end of the first episode did to me, and I've been holding off on starting the second episode because I'm not ready to go back to it. But I'm surprised.
Gotta dig into
how
that
much,
wound, you know.
Yeah, and I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it just after the first episode. I'm not someone who has vibed with Life is Strange whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
All of the games that I've played, I feel like I remember having to play 1 for some reason back at IGN, and I remember when 2 came out too. And it felt like a room of board members who are all old men writing for teenagers, and it never felt natural or genuine. And that's
It kinda was that.
really, yeah. I looked up like who the writers were for both of those games, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what it was. And it never felt
older
authentic.
French dudes being American teenage girls.
Yeah.
It didn't quite translate. It did
never
not
felt,
translate.
The writing never felt like they had talked to a teenager in this last decade. So I was like,
Well,
this,
luckily for you,
All right,
Ron
let's calm
Clements has been
down,
hanging out with
everybody.
teenagers forever, and that's why this
but
one's great.
but then like I think the thing that's making me vibe more with this is like they went older. Like this is someone who's in their early 20s. The writers aren't just old white dudes, which I appreciate. So that a lot of things and a lot of relationships have felt a little more genuine, a little more natural, and I think that's like why it's hooked me. It's a game that like it's a series that always should have hooked me for like what the basis of it is, but I think the execution so far until this one just never really hit it correctly for me.
All right. Blessing, anything you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Oh yeah, I can do like a quick run through. I finished Little Hope, and like it's cool. It was cool. Like I think for me it was the kind of it's in the same element of Man of Medan for me, where I finished it and I was like, yeah, that was a video game, and I'm gonna play the next one because I enjoy these fine. You know, I just love choose your own adventure, and I love like these cinematic choose your own adventure games, and so like even though so far they've not been able to crawl back to the quality of Until Dawn. It's one of those things where I've stopped having that expectation, and now it is kind of like what you see is what you get with these games. And so I'll play House of Ashes and have a good enough time with it. It'll be a good way to kick it with the homies. And so finish that. I started Deltarune Chapter 2. So far, I am loving it. I'll probably talk more about it on Gamescast. I'm like most of the way through it.
We have so much to talk about, Bless. It is so fucking good, and I can't wait for someone else to beat it.
I can't believe how consistently good the writing is in those games. It is ridiculous how funny those games are.
Talk about it more tomorrow.
And yeah, we'll talk about it more on Gamescast. I've of course been playing Genshin, been doing my dailies, and I've been enjoying that. And then I started Prey. I started Prey 2017. That's a game that was Arcane's previous game, and I skipped out on it back in the day because the reviews for it just weren't incredible, and it already wasn't a game that I was like, I'm gonna play this. I think I was on the edge of like, should I play this? Should I not? When it came out, and when I saw the reviews, I was like, I'll skip it. Who cares? But now that I beat Deathloop, and now that like Arcane Austin is working on Redfall, which is teed up for next year, and I know that's an Xbox game, but get ready because I'm gonna give more praise to Xbox in a second. I was like, cool, maybe I should try out Prey because I know Prey is also an immersive sim, and since Prey came out, I've been hearing more and more praise on the low for Prey, and so I was like, you know what? Maybe I should finally give it a shot because I really love what the studio does. I love their design philosophy, and I've heard people talking about Prey Mooncrash specifically because Mooncrash is a DLC add-on for Prey that turns the game into a roguelite. So I was like, shit. Well, people are praising this thing. I want to play Prey so I can eventually play Mooncrash, and hopefully that will be like the Deathloop, I guess, like adjacent Arcane product that I can play. In the meantime,
for reviews, like it did review like well. It wasn't as high as I would say like Dishonored 2 or Dishonored. I think I remember the IGN review that came out at embargo because
it was broken, right?
It was
broken
being
PC.
reviewed on PC, and there were like game-breaking bugs for the PC version, and that was in that weird time where Bethesda had decided to not give review codes early, but then they did for Prey for some. It was like there was like a whole mess of shit that was going on at that point, and we got a review code I think like 3 days before, and then whoever was reviewing it like tried to binge through the game in the weekend, and then like ran into a game-breaking bug near the end, and was like, "What the fuck?" And it was a whole thing. So and then when it got fixed, it got re-reviewed, and I think it scored higher and shit like that.
And yeah, like I think there were a few other key things, right? Like there was the fact that it was broken for some people, but then also people didn't. I remember some people not loving the ending and some of the twists and all this stuff. But
What an opening, though, right?
Oh my god, the opening is so
Dude,
good.
the opening of Prey is so fucking good.
I started
Too
it.
scary.
I started yesterday, and I think that was another thing is the game's scary, and I'm not one for scary games,
Yeah,
especially
how you
when
holding
the
up with the
monsters.
How
mimics?
scary is it? So how scary is it? Like
Yes.
compared to Bioshock?
How do you do with mimics? Like when you're playing a game where the treasure chest can possibly have huge teeth and chomp at you? Like, is that a thing that you can deal with?
Literally
Because
any
that's the
item.
Depends on how
whole
good the
game.
sound design is.
The sound design. So in Prey, they're essentially
I thought you had stumped him for a second. You're like,
yeah, there are these things called mimics, which have that same concept where literally any object in the game can be a mimic. So you might be walking around and looking at a table for like something to pick up, and you see a cup, and you're like, oh, that's a weird place for a cup to be.
You.
And then the cup turns into like a symbiote from Spider-Man, and then attacks you. It's like that type of thing.
And sometimes
that
it's just a cup, and
moment.
then and then like you turn around, you go think, and then the table's gone, and you're like, what the fuck? And so no.
And so
Prey is fucking scary because of the amount of I think the expert way that they are able to design jump scares to not feel unearned and stuff like that. Like it's
Compared to
RE7.
RE7.
I
It's a
get
different
scared of
type.
I just need to know if I can play it without crying.
RE7 is first person as well. I think you'd be fine because I think it is what so far from what I'm
if I
gathering.
cry, I'm gonna be like, you lied.
From what I'm gathering, it is the same trick over and over again. And to that extent, 45 minutes into playing, I did hit the point where I was like, they can't keep getting away with this. They can't keep scaring me in the same way over and over again. But I do think it will calm down. I do think I'm gonna hit the point where it stops being as scary to me. But who knows what else they have around the corner that might switch it up and scare me more. But it's like diet scary. It's not Resident Evil scary whatsoever. It is cosmic space scary to an extent.
Space is like the scariest thing. It's one of the scariest things out there. It's like space and public speaking, right? Like top fears.
Public speaking is really scary though. Like, have you ever tried just publicly speaking?
No,
terrifying.
all these are unlisted to me in my mind.
no one sees these but us.
Yeah, it's just us, just for us.
But yeah, back to what Greg was talking about, right? The opening of this game is so good. So good that I played it twice because I started it on PS4. I spent $30, bought the game on PS4, started it just because I prefer to play my games on my PlayStation because that's my ecosystem, everybody. Started it, played the first hour, and was like, this frame rate is starting to get to me. I don't know how much I'm loving the frame rate and the actual technical presentation of this
A
game.
true console gamer wouldn't even know that they were seeing something wrong.
Well,
you know
they
what I mean?
they would know if they've been playing the PlayStation 5 for the last year. Because I've been playing Ratchet and Clank, I've been playing Returnal, and I'm coming off of Kena Bridge of Spirits, which is some of the best looking games I've ever seen. And so hopping into Prey after those games was an eyesore. And I was streaming it, and so people in chat were saying, well, it is on Xbox Game Pass. Well, it does have FPS boost. And I was like, listen, chat, I'm a PlayStation diehard. This is my platform. I want the bronze trophies because I'm never gonna get a platinum in this game, but I want the trophies. I want to be able to sit with my PlayStation and have a good time and my DualSense and all that stuff. But after I logged off of the stream, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me download my Xbox and see how that thing looks. And guys, it looks and runs so much better on the Xbox Series X.
I like how you lead into that story as if you got tricked into like having an affair. You're like, anyway, I was like, no, please, I love my wife, but
then my Xbox Series X
it saves my life.
Yeah, my Xbox Series X came through with like a gown that had me looking at different. I was like, oh shit, okay, like you came through with the outfit today. And I played Prey the first hour again, and we got to figure out a way to get FPS boost on PlayStation, guys. Like it is so good.
While we're at it, can we get that that like you can switch between the games? Because I really wanted to do that with Deathloop and Kena. Because I'm like, well, I want to work through Kena because I want to beat it, which is what spoilers. That's one of the reasons I didn't beat it because I was playing so much Deathloop. But I'm like, I have to like hard log in and log out. Like I just wanted to. It was the only time where I felt like it would be super useful to have that. So hopefully one day.
Quick resume.
Yeah, I plan to continue Prey.
The Switcher stupid. The Switcher on PlayStation 5 stupid. Doesn't matter.
The Switcher, I feel like the Switcher like doesn't even mean anything. You know what I mean?
It's like future proofing for when they inevitably they try to do that.
No, now you're switching. I'm like, this is the same as
it's like
it's
like
this is the same as going to the media bar.
Yeah,
and
it's just like a different way of going to the home menu and then clicking on another.
Yeah,
game.
it's like how the Nintendo Switch has a menu option for themes, and they've never added themes. It's like the same thing. It's like, why'd you add this?
Oh, what theme do you have? There is an answer.
Black
you have the
white?
dark theme or the white theme.
I have the dark theme.
Exactly.
I wish I had like a Mario theme or a red theme.
Or anything. I wish I had a lot of things, and I don't have most of them.
This ain't no Switch podcast. This has been PS I Love You, XOXO. Remember, each and every week, Blessing, Janet, Barrett, and myself come together to nerd out about all things PlayStation. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, where you can write in with your questions. Of course, you can get the show ad-free. You can get it with the exclusive post show we're about to do, and you can get a bevy of benefits for other things like the Gamescast, Xcast, and so much more. However, if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week for a brand new episode. No matter where you get the show, thank you for your support. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a review, do all the good stuff that helps other people find us. Remember, of course, to go vote for the one, the only, the game monicist, Janet Garcia. You can go to thegamehers.com/vote. Vote for game monicist and rising star streamer and content creation top journalist. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a post show to do on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. But if you're not coming with us, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.